What's up, everyone? Wow. What's this guy doing? What am I doing? I was up super late arguing with a moron. And now here I am. But here it is. Saturday call-in show. This is it. I ain't doing shit with politics. After this today, I'm doing some family stuff, putting down the phone, gonna relax. Told my son I'd watch some movies with him tonight. He wanted to watch movies now, but I was like, I suppose I should come up and stream. I suppose. So here I am. I don't know. I feel like I should have got more sleep, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right. It's the weekend, baby. I've certainly in my life had Saturdays where I had less sleep waking up, so but I thought it was important. I wanted to keep doing in this New Year's these Saturday daytime shows, call-in shows. Anyways, so that's one reason. And then, I think it's important that when big news stories break, that I be covering them. So I didn't want to wait until Sunday or Monday. Obviously, we talked somewhat about Venezuelan attack last night, but I was learning about it as I was signing off. I did Speakeasy's panel, and my man, potentially criminal Shah, DM'd me. He put a super chat out, and then he DM'd me and was like, "Hey, did you see what's going on in Venezuela there?" And then I saw other people talking about it, and then obviously then I got a call in from Brian Shapiro, and we weren't really talking about Venezuela. We were talking about other stuff. And that dominated. I ended up staying up later than anticipated, talking with him. And then, this morning as I wake up, there's more details. And so we'll go over. I still don't know how many details there are, but we'll go over it. So it's going to be a good one, because here's the thing. Everybody that's a streamer that has any sort of audience is, to some extent, audience captured. This is a term that's thrown around as a pejorative, and I understand how it certainly could go too far. But it's also inevitable, right? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm audience captured to a point, in that I'm constantly trying to think, like, well, what are the things that are within the realm of things that I like to do and talk about that my audience will like for a show? For example, I like playing chess, but if I decided to stream playing chess, which I tried to once or twice, no one watches. And so I say, okay, well, then I won't do that. I'll still play chess, but I won't do it on the stream. Does that make me audience captured? Because part of my consideration of not streaming chess is my audience just won't like it. I started a second channel for when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friend EOD. The biggest reason for that was I wanted to keep this channel primarily talking about culture and politics, and I knew that the bulk of my audience here that tunes in for that wouldn't give a shit about me playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I kept it separate. Is that audience capture? Now, I think when people use this term, what they're really saying is, this person has to have opinions that will fall in line with what the audience wants to hear. I think that's what people mean. And I will be the first to admit that I heavily take into concern, stylistically, a lot of choices with my channel with the concerns of entertainment and information that the audience would like. I know, for example, that my audience likes when I start going on a rant. I know that my audience likes when I debate people. And yes, I like ranting and I like debating, but I also know that it'll help my channel and my audience will enjoy it more, and I'm happy to provide that. And so I'm not trying to separate myself as some sort of bastion of, I'm so far ahead of other streamers. I'm fully admitting that's not the case. But one thing I do pride myself in is I am, to the best of my ability, all stylistic choices, all sort of entertainment value and hyperbole aside, I try to the best of my ability, tell you all exactly what I'm thinking. Now, there's other things. Sometimes due to TOS, you can't say certain things. When I'm talking with my friends that I've been friends with my whole life, maybe things are a little more rated R than when I'm on here talking to the audience. But that's not what I mean. What I mean is, I know many times what the bulk of my audience wants my take to be on something. But rather through stubbornness or, maybe it is still audience capture. I also know the only thing worth a shit about me is that I'm giving my opinion. And as soon as I start to say, well, what is the opinion I think my audience wants me to have, then I'm worthless. I'm dog shit because I'm not the best looking person. I'm not the most entertaining person. I'm me. I'm authentic. That's it. I'll tell you a story. I would never say who, because that's not who I am. But I remember during Trump's first term, particularly with the pandemic, and when Trump was paying lip service to lockdowns and shit, and I was just eviscerating him, I had two streamers that were bigger than me. Not, this ain't fucking Asmongold. I'm not talking like the biggest streamers, but two streamers that were bigger than me that reached out to me and said, Rob, I agree 100% with what you're saying, being critical of Trump here. And I'm glad you're saying it because I can't. Because my audience will turn on me. And I remember thinking, like, please never let me become that. Please don't. Not just because it would be miserable to always try to figure out what the audience wants me to say on each individual issue. That would be miserable. But also because then I would be a shell of myself, and I would, in my own mind, I would be worthless. I would just be worthless. So that's what I do here. And today's going to be one of those days where I intuitively know that a huge portion of my audience ain't going to like my take. And it's not that I don't respect the opinions of my audience. I immensely do. But it's not weighing in on what my take is. That's it. When it comes to this Venezuelan attack, I'm open to evidence being brought forth that will change my opinion on this at some point. I'm open to it. But from my core of what I've seen of American foreign policy and what has interested me and animated me since I first started to really give a shit in maybe 2004, this fucking sucks. The same me that protested the Iraq War, the same me that protested bombing Syria, the same me that protested what the fuck we were doing for 20 years in Afghanistan, the same me that protested was against us bombing Libya is the same me that exists today, and it hasn't changed just because the name of the guy is Trump that's doing it. That statement is true, even if it turns out easy peasy, done in an hour, no U.S. lives lost, great, Maduro arrested. So? Is this what I want? When the next Democrat takes over and they decide that they're going to bomb fucking Poland because they're populist right wing, as long as it's accomplished in an hour, cool. But Rob, they're cartels. But Rob, the people of Venezuela are cheering. And they cheered when Gaddafi was deposed. Name me a country that if we deposed the leader, you wouldn't have large amounts of people cheering. Name me a country that you wouldn't be able to point to the fucking leaders and say how terrible they were. Fuck, for the sake of me as an American, it would be better if the United States bombed and fucking removed Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom. Or if they would have deposed Justin fucking Trudeau or Carney in Canada than it would be for Maduro in Venezuela. Might as well do that too, right? Yes, I'm well aware of how this works. One, organically, particularly in countries that aren't first world countries. But it's not limited. First world countries could be the same as well. There's a lot of fucking dog shit leaders. And 90% of the population would be fucking happy if they were gone. That is not the US's role. That wasn't the role in Ukraine. I don't give a shit how unpopular Poroshenko was. I don't give a shit how unpopular Assad was. If I'm concerned about America first, how does it benefit the American citizen for us to be involved in those boondoggles? How did it benefit me and my family to have fucking Gaddafi killed? How'd that benefit them? And if the argument with Maduro is going to be, well, because they were sending drugs, I'm sorry, I'm not convinced that that's reason enough. I'm sorry. Nope. Oil? Seems more likely, doesn't it? It does seem more likely. Cartels have been killing Americans for decades. True. Cartels that have operated and had footholds all throughout the world. How many countries we about to depose the leaders of then? Hundreds? We're going into Africa, depose all the leaders there? Meanwhile, the same people, I'm sorry to talk shit on some of the people in my audience, some of the same people that are like, when are we going to do something about the plight of like affordability in the United States? When are we going to actually deport more people? Will happily continually cheer on Trump's almost singular focus of foreign policy. You see, it turns out that the people like me, the populists that were like, deport these motherfuckers, secure the border, lock up the fucking corrupt people that engaged in going after you, we've gotten very little of what we voted for. But the neocons, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, boy, oh boy. Wow, they're doing tremendously. They're doing great. Their Christmas list has been fulfilled. Going great for them. Yes, I know. Here comes the old cliche argument, but Rob, we could do two things at once, and yet we never do. And yet the neocons win again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And the whole time that I'm like, since Trump's first administration, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Trust me, Rob. Trust the plan. This is good. Hyper-focused on foreign policy. Good. It's good. You'll see. It's good. We'll get what we... Ah, shucks. We didn't get it. Oh, well. I do not give a shit if the people of Venezuela are happy that Maduro's gone. On one hand, I care in this sense. I wish every person in the world could live under systems that allow them to be who they are. Unless it is a grotesque violation of what I consider to be moral, which comes from Christianity. I want the people of Venezuela to have a government that's concerned with the people of Venezuela. I want the people of Ukraine to have a government that's concerned with the people of Ukraine. I'm not particularly a fan of puppet governments. I'm not a fan of corrupt governments. And yet, I have been lied to my entire adult life about U.S. interventionism. The people that are running the show with U.S. interventionism are neither competent nor are they benevolent. They do not give a fuck about the people of Ukraine. They do not give a fuck about the people of Syria, the people of Libya, the people of Afghanistan, and yes, the people of Venezuela. And yet, in every one of those situations, they will point to as propaganda. But look how happy this group of people are in this country that we've exercised this military option. I'm well aware of how it works. Yes. And many times that is organically true. But you're lying to yourself if you don't see how the U.S. intelligence system can create propaganda to do just that. And it's amazing to me the people that will say, yes, probably the U.S. was involved in a color revolution in 2014 in Ukraine. Of course, there were people that organically didn't like the Ukrainian government, but also the funding of NGOs and Western interest and the promotion after the Maidan Revolution started of alternative voices by groups like the United States certainly had a big impact on that. But then in the same breath, they'll go, look how happy the people of Venezuela are. As if it's not the exact same playbook. Then you have these big brain takes. Oh, is this Brian Shapiro or Rob? They kind of sound the same. Really? Can you show me Brian Shapiro heavily criticizing the United States interventionism in places like Ukraine? You sound like Brian Shapiro. You right now cheering for the interventionism. You sound like the same. Were you criticizing Trump when Trump was saying, I'm the peace president? When you were saying, fuck that, we want the interventionist president. Is that what you were doing? That's what the Democrats are doing. That's who you sound like, you stupid fuck. Is this Junior Coltrane or, oh, that's right, I don't know, Junior Coltrane's an irrelevant fuck that no one gives a shit about his opinion. It's okay if you disagree with me, but if you want to imply that somehow I'm being a Democrat or something like that, go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. Don't worry, we'll open up the call-in lines. You fucking left-wing leaning neocon interventionist motherfucker. Anyone that's against the wars, if Trump do it, ultimately they're a Democrat. I've been for interventionism the whole time. When Trump was running on ending wars, when Trump was running on being the peace president, not interventionism, I supported all of that. But now I'll say anyone who wants that same promise is really a Democrat. Fuck you. Tell me, does it sound like Brian Shapiro when I tell you that you're a fucking little piece of shit cocksucker nobody? Maybe it does. Maybe I do sound like Brian Shapiro there. I think I'm a little better at it. That's what I think. You want to say, Rob, I disagree with you. I don't have a problem with that. Rob, you're a fucking idiot. You're wrong. I don't have a problem with that. Don't fucking tell me that me being consistent since 2004 on these policies makes me sound like a Democrat. What next? Are you going to tell me if I want fiscal conservatism? Rob, you sound like a Democrat complaining when Republicans spend too much money. Fuck you. Your virtue signaling fucking ridiculous bullshit means nothing to me. Rob, is intervening in foreign intervention foreign intervention? Yes. How's that hard to understand? Let's take this to its logical conclusion. Actually, the United States absolutely correct to intervene in Ukraine because they're intervening in the foreign intervention of Russia invading. Therefore, it is not interventionism for the United States to be concerned and to fund the war in Ukraine. We're merely stopping interventionism. Yes, same with Syria. Yes, same with Libya. Name me the situation where the United States is engaged in military action that the United States couldn't say, but there were other interests around the world that were putting influence in those places. So we're actually not interventionists. We're just stopping, we're intervening on behalf of stopping other foreign nations intervening. Yes, I'm well aware. every conflict, presumably everyone in the audience at some point, has seen the United States in their lifetime be involved in a military action that they didn't like. Maybe it was under Obama. Maybe it was under Bush. Doesn't matter. I assure you that whatever argument you have now that's like, but Maduro's a bad dude. Yes, same arguments that were made then. But we're merely intervening to stop other intervening interests. Yes, same argument that was made in that conflict you didn't like. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be universal, that if you like all conflicts or you dislike all conflicts. Obviously, there are nuances, and reasonable people could say, look, here's in particular why I support this one and was against that one. But the idea, like so many of the people of Venezuela are happy. Yes, and we could do 100 other countries that if the United States would depose their leader, they would be happy. But there were other countries that were interested foreignly and that were putting pressure on those governments and were influencing those governments. Yes, that's pretty much every country in the world. You could say the word Monroe Doctrine. I don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter. Name me the country that wouldn't justify invading them and taking out their leader under the Monroe Doctrine. The United Kingdom has done more to negatively affect the United States at this point than Venezuela. It is probably at this point all but shown the intelligence assets within the United Kingdom worked with the Obama administration to try to take down Trump. Are we going to war with the United Kingdom? How about Canada? How about China? Well, we consider all sort of foreign influence in our country a hostile action, so it justifies war, but only selectively. Only selectively. Only the ones the neocons want. Only them. So yes, I understand how repeating the mantra, Monroe Doctrine, Monroe Doctrine, Monroe Doctrine, yes, maybe a persuasive argument to some people. And yet what I say is, fine, if that wants to be your argument that you want to throw your nuts down and say, we're the biggest and baddest, we'll do whatever the fuck we want. Okay, well, you better hope you got the goods. And I'll just have you know that even though that's how you feel, that ain't how the people running the show feel. They don't give a fuck. We gonna Monroe Doctrine fucking Israel? We gonna do that? We gonna Monroe Doctrine those motherfuckers? You think that's happening? Oh, no. That influence is okay. China met with Venezuela hours before. By the way, when are we invading California? Xi met with Newsom. What does the hemisphere have shit all to do with it? Maybe the hemisphere argument makes sense in a world where we're less interconnected. But at this point, it is beyond a shadow of a doubt that the United Kingdom has more influence and more ability to fuck with the United States than Venezuela. The idea that it's like, well, but they're not in the hemisphere, so who gives a fuck? Fuck you. Come on. That's a bad argument. You could say we have complete sway over our hemisphere. We don't. How about the northern hemisphere? Does that count? Why is it only east and western? Why not northern and southern hemisphere? Venezuela's not in our northern hemisphere. United Kingdom is. Therefore, Monroe Doctrine. Right? Okay, let China take it all. Again, literally, when I talk about the corruption of the U.S. intel community, etc., literally just when I talk about the history of color revolutions and corruption that we saw during the Cold War, this is literally verbatim the argument that the intel agency supporting people do. Well, we have to do it or the Soviets will take over everything. We have to do this. We have to intervene. Have to do it. What's that? Hey, the same intel agencies that I don't trust when they went after Donald Trump, they're telling me now that we have to invade Iran. We got to do that. And now they're telling me, we got to invade Syria. And we have to trust them. What do we want, China to win? No, I know these same intel agencies are fucking corrupt to the core, and they tried to depose Donald Trump, but now I believe them. I believe them 100%. Trust me, I don't question it at all. Else China will win. Yes, daddy government, tell me exactly what I need to hear. Boots on the ground everywhere, please. Please. I now trust implicitly the intel agencies. They're telling me what I want to hear. Now I've lost my critical eye. I believe everything they say. It's all about stopping China. We must stop China everywhere. And yet, at the same time that we must stop China, motherfucking Trump just said not a month ago, well, we need to continue to bring in 500,000 Chinese students so that the fucking college campuses that train students to hate my way of life can continue to thrive. That's how concerned Trump is with China's fucking influence. He's concerned with them sending people to Venezuela, but not to our very fucking country. How about this? Fine, you want to bomb Venezuela because China went there? Then why don't we start before we doing that? Getting the fucking Chinese out of our country. This is the same fucking type of bullshit argument. Well, we had 15 days to slow the spread. What do you want, grandma to die? It's like, well, wait a minute. If you're concerned about grandma dying, shouldn't the first thing to do to make sure that COVID patients can't be in the nursing homes? Shut the fuck up. Shut up. You have to be locked down because grandma may die, but the COVID patient must be next to grandma. If we're concerned about China, fine, I'm willing to hear it. Then I don't want my president saying, well, we have to take 500,000 Chinese students to benefit college campuses that hate conservatives, so our tax dollars not only are paying to educate the Chinese, but are paying to fucking indoctrinate people in this country to hate us, but we have to do it. We have to do it. We have to bring in those Chinese, 500,000 of them. But also, fighting China is so important. We must bomb countries in the Western Hemisphere that possibly are talking to China. You see? See how that works? Look, I might agree or disagree with an action, but have some consistency. It's not whataboutism. Why don't we do both? You tell me, a carefree traveler. You tell me. Why don't we do both? Go ahead. Explain it. Okay, we trust Trump. Trump is bombing Venezuela because it's all about stopping the Chinese. Okay, then why isn't he getting the Chinese? Go ahead, you tell me. I don't want to be accused of whataboutism. So go ahead, tell me. Am I allowed to criticize Trump? Am I allowed to point out the discrepancy? Or no, that's whataboutism. Do you know what that term means? For example, let's say that the Trump administration says we are officially going to bomb any country that doesn't require identification to vote. We think that that's rife with fraud and corruption, and so we refuse. We feel that the people of this world deserve to have secure elections, and so any country that doesn't have ID to vote, and then half the countries that don't have ID, they bomb, and half they don't. And you say, well, wait a minute, it seems like the stated rationale here isn't what's going on because you're not applying this. You're just picking and choosing for other benefits. And then someone like you goes, that's whataboutism. Why not bomb them all? Okay, but they're not. They're not. Going this hard with no info either way is kind of wild. Is this how you take everything else that ends? Presumably, almost every... I went pretty hard on the Somalia corruption story, didn't I? And yet, no one had a problem with that on my side of the aisle. Have I seen all the books and all the places that Nick Shirley went to? No, I haven't. And yet I went pretty hard on that, didn't I? No one had a problem. Now, yes, is it possible that Trump's team will be able to provide evidence that I would find sufficient that says actually Maduro was about to nuclear attack the United States within a week? Here's the intel that we acted on here. It's possible. And then my stance will change. Yet nonetheless, it's amazing to me how every time I have people that normally agree with me, anytime I have a strong, passionate disagreement, it's, wow, come on now. How could you have a strong opinion without having access to all the evidence? As if that's not what people do all the time. I have a principle. I'm against the intervention. I see intervention. I don't like it. I say why. People say, you're being a Democrat, Rob. I say, go fuck yourself. No, I'm not. People say, yes, but it's about stopping China. I say, if it's about stopping China, why are we allowing Chinese students to come in at 500,000? Why is Trump supporting that? Your take is, it's weird to have a strong opinion on that. Okay, you tell me when I can have an opinion that's strong then. Go ahead. When's the appropriate amount of time to wait? Just curious. If it turns out tomorrow that Trump's team, in fact, I think they're giving a speech today at some point, they stand up and they say, here's the evidence. Nuclear attack that was imminent. I'd say, well, everything I said yesterday is still true. But this doesn't fall into that criteria now that I have more specific evidence. This wasn't for Monroe Doctrine reasons. This wasn't because Chinese influence. I'm still correct. If that's why we're intervening, then we ought to look back home first. But this was something different. It was to stop an imminent nuclear attack. That's different. It's a possibility. But how could we not say the same thing about any time we're critical of any political decision? You don't know, Rob. How do you know? Maybe we'll still find evidence 10 years from now that Joe Biden's quid pro quo Burisma actually was for a super secret important reason. And you just didn't have the details, Rob. So why would you get upset about it? True. Maybe there was a reason, a super important reason, that Joe Biden was being so soft on immigration and basically allowing open borders. Could be. Maybe there's a reason we don't know of, that the lawfare looked like bullshit against Donald Trump. But trust us, Rob, there's a super secret reason possibly in the background that you don't know about that actually would completely change your opinion. So better to not say anything. Could be. Could be. Andrew Wilson believes in American chauvinism and the external exercise of force. Rob believes in non-interventionism. It's fair. Certainly different people could disagree. That's certainly true. My problem is, if that's going to be the argument, if the argument's going to be the old Trump, well, if we're going there, we're taking our fucking oil. I don't have to like it. What I'm asking for is a consistent application of it. So if it's about, look, this is about fucking America, it don't matter. We'll do it because we want your fucking oil. How about that? We'll do it because our leader right now thinks you're personally an asshole. We don't give a fuck. We got the might to do it. Okay, that's fine. We could argue about whether or not that's a good system or, I'm being a little hyperbolic there. But then why isn't there consistent application of that back home? Bauer Mode says, Rob, how many people a year die of fentanyl each year in the United States? What would you do better? How much fentanyl comes in from Venezuela? Show me the evidence. Show me the specific evidence. No, I'm convinced, though, I would bomb every country that has cartels operating in it. I would go to war with China immediately. That's what I would do. And plus, there's a lot of Americans that die of obesity. Fuck, I'm a big fat fuck. Let's bomb any country that's making products that have trans fatty acids. Let's do that as well. Right? Cigarettes? Oh my God, don't get me started. How about we secure the fucking border, we deport all the fucking illegal immigrants, and we aggressively go after all the cartels operating on U.S. soil right fucking now. Then, if you really then need to branch out from there, start with fucking Mexico where the cartels basically run the show. How about that? Start fucking there. Get the fucking Chinese, where fentanyl is coming from, out of our fucking universities. Something that Trump's unwilling to do. Nope. He wants them. Nope. He doesn't want to deport all the illegals. So many of them are important workers on farms and in battery shops. Let's start there. No. We can't do that, but we do have to go to war with Venezuela. But wait a minute. Isn't the fentanyl coming from China far more serious? Yeah, that's where it's coming from. So then let's start with getting the Chinese out of the country, right? No more Chinese companies buying up assets right? No more than buying up property. Let's aggressively go after the politicians that have worked with China. Let's do that. Great first step. Something that we could do that's domestic, that undoubtedly affects this country first. Great. Sounds good. Doesn't involve boots on the ground or anything like that. Let's do that. Nah, I'm sorry. Best we could offer is war with Venezuela. Can't do that. Can't do the domestic shit. Can't do it. But trust us. We have to allow the Chinese government to continue to have a foothold in the United States and have our president publicly say, well, it's necessary that we bring in 500,000 Chinese students. We have to have that. But let's bomb Venezuela. Let's do it. Where's the link of Trump speaking now?
%, and those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Hey, maybe another 20 years like Afghanistan. That went well, right? By the way, we helped the poppy fields there. But it's about drugs.
Liberty and justice for the great people of Venezuela. And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind.
Just insert George Bush's face here.
Decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay.
I was not wrong about Iran. You were. The hyper-focus on Iran and foreign policies led to all sorts of shit not being done here domestically. All sorts. Priority is now Israel's interest. What's going on in the Middle East? What's going on in Venezuela? What's going on in Ukraine and Russia? I was not wrong.
For a long period of time.
And when we lose the midterms, you can keep saying, but it was the right thing to do. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world. Show me crying about what I don't recall anything. What I recall, not quite dead. I don't recall me crying. I recall you being hyperbolic because you're a little fucking bitch. That's what I recall. I recall saying that World War III would be a possibility. And if this does lead to a greater conflict with the country, you'll be saying, this proves that they were bad. It's okay.
So we were prepared to.
I said that it was a possibility.
If we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking.
Hey, thanks so much, man. Appreciate
it. Deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solis, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans, hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York. And then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States. Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going, they're walking their daughters, they're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. Been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now. And crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana, and we have done that. It was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to
Senator
almost
Smith,
nothing.
That's fair position. Can you explain to me the benefit of allowing 500,000 Chinese students in this country if we're having to bomb other countries to stop Chinese fentanyl? Can you give me the cost benefit?
There, we did a very small help because we
What's
had
the cost of saying, no, sorry, no Chinese students?
We had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster and the mayor was a disaster, but it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department
pulling out of places in the United States, pulling out there. We have other priorities like Venezuela now.
That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back.
We're pulling out of D.C. We're pulling out of Los Angeles.
But we did a great job.
We don't need to solve crime there. We don't need to focus there. Now it's Venezuela. There we go. Where are the people in the audience? Yes, they say great. Make America great. Stop being concerned about Democrat American cities. Let's do Venezuela.
But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned. Tren de Aragua. and they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst. They say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungari. What happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. It was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened.
So if the Supreme Court says that we can't be in Venezuela, are you going to say, well, that's it, Trump must bring them back? You think that's what's going to happen?
Violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from
You think that's what will happen?
mental institutions and insane asylums.
By the way, show
They
me
came
the Supreme
from
Court saying
prisons and
in
jails.
D.C. where he
The
suggested
reason I
pulling
say
out that
both,
they couldn't
sound
be there.
similar, actually.
See what the
Prisons,
Supreme Court said was you
little
could
bit
declare the
more-
Insurrection Act and send
little bit
actual
more
troops
hostile, a
there.
little bit
Seemed to
tougher.
be, why didn't Trump
They-
do that then?
mental
Instead,
institution isn't as
bomb
tough as an
Venezuela?
insane asylum. But we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States. But no longer. And we have now a border where
You can
nobody
say it
gets
gives them
through.
the power to do this. So what?
addition,
I'll bet Bleezers
Venezuela
you think that the Insurrection Act gives him the
unilaterally
power to
seized
deploy
and
U.S.
sold
troops to
American oil,
Democrat cities as well,
American
and yet he
assets,
won't
and
do
American
it, despite the fact that
platforms
you believe that he has the power to
costing
do
us
so. Why?
Billions and billions
Why is he
of
talking about
dollars.
pulling out of Democratic cities?
They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela.
How many
all
miles away is
industry with
Venezuela?
American talent, drive, and skill. And the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country.
It's only 2,500
Massive oil
miles away, so
infrastructure
there
was
we
taken
go.
like we were babies, so we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into
Except those Chinese students.
and out of our
Except
own
all the
hemisphere.
fucking
That's what they
immigrants that
did.
came in, except the illegals that Trump
Furthermore,
says that
under
we
the
need to
now
keep here.
deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region.
It's not
and
over,
acquiring
Paradise.
menacing
Trump just said
offensive
that we have a
weapons that
second
could
wave.
threaten
We're
US
taking over the
interests
country.
and
We will
lives.
have
And they
boots
used
on the
those
ground to
weapons
control
last
the
night.
country for an
They used those
indeterminate amount of
weapons last
time.
night, potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo.
Trump literally just last month said, yes, we do want China, not just in our backyard, in our front yard as well. We will continue to accept 500,000 Chinese students. And the reason we need to do that is to benefit places like Harvard, which hate me.
Venezuela
My tax dollars go to Harvard to subsidize the Chinese.
And it will happen to them.
So my question to you is, if it's true that Trump's making this decision to keep Trump out of our backyard, why let them in the front yard?
Terrorist Maduro is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation. This morning, it's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere
stop blocking
right now
people before this woman or this guy has a fucking connection. Please don't block people that disagree with me. I will block them. If they're trolling, if they're violating terms of service, block them. If not, please don't block them for shit like this. Okay? Especially mods that maybe had a concern with them being timed out or blocked on other channels. Please don't do that. Now I'm going to have to answer questions. I see it all through. I blocked one person that said, fuck you, Rob. Basically, I could no longer support you. I'm out. I said, fine, see ya. Don't let the door hit you in the way out. That's it. I've not timed out or blocked anyone else.
And I'm very proud of
Please
Secretary
stop.
of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve.
Listen, as far as Hegseth goes, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that the people that carried out this mission are some of the most fantastic Americans possible. So we'll talk about this. I'm going to put the chat out. So for those that say that I'm making bad takes, fine. You have your chance to call in and tell me what take of mine is bad. I'm against interventionism. I could respect that people were like, nope, the United States should be the world police and be interventionists. Okay, what's the reason? Well, because we should do what's best for the people back home, and we don't want Chinese influence in Venezuela. I say, fair enough, totally understand it. Why then would we allow China to have a foothold in the United States? Why would we then take something that almost everyone on this chat that agrees with me politically on domestic issues would agree that we despise these universities and should stop funding them, places like Ivy League universities? Why would Trump say that we have to continue to train the people that will be our biggest geopolitical enemy? So much so that we are forced to go and militaristically control a third-party country because China is so bad and evil. That's how bad and evil China is. And so we have to go 2,500 miles away and take out the leader of Venezuela and then say, now we have to be on the ground and run that country because China's so bad. And yet, at the same time, we have to subsidize terrible U.S. universities that hate you, Rob, that hate Christians, that hate conservatives. We have to subsidize them to allow 500,000 Chinese to come in to train them to be our enemies. We have to do it. Or else the universities that hate you will suffer. Can someone explain it? That's all I want. If your take is, you're right, Rob, that makes no sense. I'm for the bombing of Venezuela, but at the same time, I am wondering why Trump did that. Great. That is a consistent position that makes sense. Totally get it. If your argument is, I just don't think it's a big deal that your tax dollars should be sent to benefit Chinese students, 500,000 of them, so that we can continue to benefit Ivy League schools and universities that fucking hate you, I think that's a bad argument. That's it. I don't want people banned in the fucking chat. I don't. If people want to say I'm sounding like Brian Shapiro, I'm going to say you sound like a bitch. If people are going to say I was crying about something, I'm going to go back with that energy. If they get pissed and say I could no longer support you, fair enough. No problem. There are a lot of people in the chat that disagree with me. They might even say I'm fucking wrong about this, whatever. That's the way it is. I don't want them banned. I don't. Mods didn't understand that. That's fine. Not trying to ban them. Okay, I sound like Dave Smith, but he's also dumb. Then how would you like to call in and educate me? Right? Or what if I say, you sound like every left-winger that claims to be intelligent, but all of a sudden you lose your balls when you have your chance to actually call in and talk. All of a sudden, this big fucking shit. Let me get, what's the excuse? I don't have a phone, I can't call in, I'm at work, and I can't check. Go ahead. You sound like every lefty. How's that? You sound like every lefty bitch that I ever see in the chat. You're stupid. You're stupid. And then yet, you're big fucking ball. Right. You're a right-winger. Well, so am I, but you're saying I'm Dave Smith. I'm saying you say I sound like Dave Smith. I say you sound like every little cowardly left-wing bitch that won't call in, that calls me stupid. That's what you sound like. But no, I'm not. I'm a right-winger. A bitch. You're a right-winger, but you're a coward, balls haven't dropped bitch. How about that? How's that? Punching right, shaking my head. Yes, I know. It's unfortunate. If only we could just all pretend to do whatever Daddy Trump tells us 100% and not criticize him. That's the way. Worked out so swimmingly in the first term. Oh, not me. Sorry. Now, again, I want to be clear. Let's go through all the ways that I could be wrong. One, it could absolutely be the case that evidence will come out that this, despite what we're being told now, that this was just about drugs, that there is evidence that there was like imminent attacks, et cetera, that made this necessary. And that the seeming discrepancies with things like allowing the Chinese in, that this was all part of some big Trump ploy to have China let their guard down so that he could drop the hammer. Could be. I don't think that's the case. And if we get to that level of things with just rank speculation without evidence to suggest that, then I think that unfortunately this falls into the same criticism of you could never criticize any politician. Or rather, it's just off feels. I trust Trump, therefore it's okay. I don't trust Biden, therefore it's not okay. And I don't think that's a good way to sort of commentate on politics, or not even commentate, but just have a view of politics. I think that I don't trust any human in the world 100% with infallibility, whether that be someone I support or not. So I don't see it that way. Right? Secondly, you could say, Rob, there'll be no blowback from this whatsoever. One and done, Maduro out, United States will be there for a couple days, new regime takes over in Venezuela, all the Venezuelan people cheer, China, Russia, and shit are like, oh, don't fuck with the U.S., all good in the hood, baby, it's all gonna work out. We'll be right back to deporting fucking Somalians in Minnesota by this time next week. Don't worry about it. Could be. Could happen. What I say to that is, I mean, I'm just looking at the first Trump term and so far in the second Trump term to say that ain't happening. We haven't seen that happen. Could it change? I suppose. We could have a robust focus on domestic issues instead of the never-ending boondoggle of foreign policy. Suppose it's possible. Haven't seen it. Secondly, yeah, of course, I'm hoping that there's not blowback. Just like I said with the Iranian thing, there's a chance that this could lead to a greater war. Each individual step that you take makes conflict with bigger superpowers more likely. The financing of Ukraine, for example, right? The westward expansion of NATO, helping depose Assad and getting involved there and violating Syria's sovereignty. And each step of the way, people say, trust us, there won't be repercussions, won't be repercussions. Well, Russia invaded Ukraine. Now that's okay too. And the thing is, the people that push this interventionist policy, when inevitably it does lead to some form of negative consequence, they just say, see, we are right to intervene because look what happened. Okay. I hope it doesn't. I'd be happy to say. I'm still shocked, despite what the person said earlier. I'm shocked that we haven't seen worse consequences from the Iranian thing. And we may very well. If there's a terror attack on U.S. soil that kills 500 people tomorrow, and it's an Iranian operative, will the people that were like, no blowback whatsoever from bombing Iran go, oh shit, we were wrong? Of course not. They'll say, see, this is why it was so important to go into Iran. That's why it was so important. You see? It's Schrodinger's attack. Everything will be proof that it was justified. If Iran doesn't do anything, see, we were right to attack. If Iran does do something, see, we were right to attack. But I'm not saying it's outside the realm of possibility that this attack will lead to no further repercussions. Could be. I hope so. I'm skeptical. I think there'll be ramifications even if we don't see them immediately. Even if it's ramifications 2-3 years down the road, if not longer. I'm skeptical, but let's say for the sake of argument, Rob, we could see in a crystal ball and that doesn't happen. Okay, am I wrong to have this opinion now? How could you not say this about any intervention? Say the same thing about the Iraq war. But Rob, right now we don't see the immediate ramifications, so therefore it could be good. And if there are never, would you say that even if you disagreed with this, it wasn't that bad? Maybe, I suppose. Is there a conflict that I've agreed with? Sure, the War of 1812. Of course, there's justified use of force. I'm not a pacifist. Make the case. I'm sorry. The problem is, put it this way. Let me ask you, I'll just ask the audience. Let's see if this maybe illustrates my point to answer this question, level 4 lobster, right? I want you to just forget about what you know happened. Forget about it and where you think I'm going. Just answer this question. Can you imagine a case where it could be justified to criminally investigate Donald Trump? Can you imagine a case? Can you imagine it? Yes, you can. Okay, so then if I said, well, therefore, you understand the lawfare against Trump, and you'd say, yeah, but I don't trust these fucking people. They have a history over and over again of using lawfare against Trump. They have a history of showing their political bias, right? It's possible that if tomorrow Democrats bring a case or try to bring a case against Trump, that it'll be legitimate. And yet, without seeing overwhelming evidence, seeing as how I know the motivations of the characters involved, and I've seen their past corrupt behavior, that I would say I'm very skeptical. Same thing here. It's true. There could be a time and a place where U.S. interventionism, I would say, yeah, okay, that was good. Problem is, as I say over and over again, we have a history of my entire adult life of being shown over and over these sorts of interventionism that have been wrong. Maybe it is true that all of a sudden, the mass amounts of personnel in our intel agencies and military that haven't really been replaced that much at the domestic level, these people truly have a big heart for the people of Venezuela. That's what it's really about. It's really about, it ain't about oil. It ain't about, now the good people are running the show. Just like that. Now, they couldn't do that in any other portion of the administration, right? Like, for example, the FBI couldn't do that. They put Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, and all of a sudden things haven't magically changed. But somehow that has been the case at the military. Now they're all good, competent people that really care. The days of disastrous foreign policy interventionism that was designed to benefit people around the world at the expense of the people of the United States, those days are over. Just like that. Now it's all good. Could be. I choose to remain skeptical. It's possible, but I'd like to see evidence of that. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what the left thinks of me. They're fucking garbage. There's nothing, if we give sort of this, if we're like, look, we have this general idea of what we think. I'm generally very dubious of these interventions. Right? But if we say, but come on now, Trump, then what area of anything Trump would do could I ever criticize? Because the argument can always be, but trust me, man, behind the scenes, there's shit going on. Just trust the plan. What could I criticize? Am I allowed to criticize his reactions to COVID? Well, you don't know what he was looking at behind the scenes. Am I allowed to criticize the massive amounts of spending? Am I allowed to criticize his decision to say, you know what, maybe we don't want to deport all these illegals? Am I allowed to criticize him saying, we do want 500,000 Chinese nationals? Am I allowed to say that? Or is it every time I have to say, in fairness though, Rob, you don't have access to all the evidence behind the scenes. And Rob, you don't know, maybe those 500,000 Chinese students, maybe all they're going to do is come here, spend money. They'll be naturalized to the West. They'll go back to China and hate China. It's possible. You don't know, Rob. So we should just trust Trump. I suppose you could take that tack. That ain't me. Is it? I have no problem talking to someone who I disagree with, who's like, hey, man, I'm a fucking U.S. chauvinist. So, and I know that's Andrew's position. That's fine. I don't agree with that position, but fine. Might makes right. U.S. do whatever the fuck they want. We want to take your fucking oil? Fine. We'll take your fucking oil. We don't even need the pretenses of an excuse. Trump could have came out today and been like, we invaded Venezuela because fuck them. Maduro talked shit on me, and they got a bunch of oil, and we're taking that motherfucking shit. And guess what? That's going to benefit the people of the United States. And if you got a problem with that, fuck you. We'll come take your shit too. How about that? And if you want to say, great, that's what I want. U.S. is the biggest and the baddest. Fuck it. Throw that might around. Okay. But then I'm allowed to test the intellectual consistency of that position. If that's the case, why not kick these fucking foreigners out of our country? Fuck it. Throw around. You're the big dog, Trump. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'll do what I want. Big dog when it comes to Venezuela. Meek is a fucking mouse when it comes to domestic. Oh, the judges said I can't do that. Hey, baby, force doctrine all the way. Where's the judge's military? Go. Judge Boasberg going to show up to Trump's house with like a ball bat and stop him? Nah, he ain't going to do shit. So do what you want, Trump. Fuck him. right? American chauvinism, baby. Trump won, might makes right. Do what the fuck you want, Trump, right? No, all of a sudden back home it's, well, he can't do that. He can't. He can't do that. Oh, it's there's a bunch of loopholes to jump there. It's very hard to drain the swamp. It's very hard. And it takes a lot of time. Venezuela, bomb those motherfuckers. Yeah, America first, motherfucker. No one tells us what to do. We'll bomb those motherfuckers. Take whatever we want. Do what we want. Back home with these foreigners back up. Well, we have to be considerate of them. And, judges say that we can't do this stuff. And, and so unfortunately it's pride. We're not going to, you don't know how big this swamp is from. You don't know. And so we just have to defer, and maybe we could get. See the problem? That's what I'm testing. It's like, hell, would we be in an objectively better position if the Trump that those people say they want existed? Probably. Fuck you, Democrats. Fuck you, corrupt people. We're locking up the corrupt motherfuckers that came after me. We're kicking out these fucking foreigners. Sure. We don't give a fuck what people say. Might makes right, motherfucker. Again, I don't agree with that position. Why is this so hard to see? Why is this so hard to see? I don't understand this position. I don't understand this. How can it be that if I say something critical of Trump, it must be that my motivation is to get the left to like me? But because the left won't like me, then it's irrelevant if I ever criticize Donald Trump. I couldn't possibly criticize Trump because I care about the country and I want the country to do well and I think that this is a mistake and I want to focus on domestic issues. It couldn't be that. It has to be that secretly I'm trying to get the left to like me. That must be what I'm doing. And so if the logical extrapolation of what you're suggesting seems to be something like this, Rob, why would you even bother to criticize Trump? The left's not going to like you anyways. Okay, then I guess I'll say nothing. Then what? Have you never criticized Trump? Honest question. You've never criticized him. And if you have, if you say, sure, I criticize this, I'll say, you sound like a lefty. The left's not going to like you. Why would you bother to criticize? You'd say, well, Rob, it wasn't about that. I wasn't criticizing Trump. I was criticizing because I legitimately disagreed with them. It could be a side effect. Yes, it's entirely possible that people on the left could say, I'm just saying, it is not factoring into my decision that I want the left to like me. Might someone on the left say, I like this opinion from Rob. Sure, they're full of shit anyways. Almost all the people on the left that'll fucking gnash their teeth about this didn't have a problem with interventionism in Syria, didn't have a problem with interventionism in Libya. Oops, wrong button. All right, we're going to limit the calls to like 5 minutes apiece because I assume we'll probably get a lot. So, I mean, I guess if no one's on the line, we'll keep whoever calls in longer. But, the link out there. Ah, yes. My left-leaning friends in real life already sending me DMs giving me shit. Already. Hey, Rob, thought it was the president of peace. I thought we were done with occupations. Yeah. Was my criticisms about the attack this morning? Yes. That is in fact what my criticism is. What do you mean there is no occupation? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Trump just said there's going to be an occupation, that we are literally controlling the Venezuelan government until we can hand it off. That's literally what he just said. That's his words. This is not me coming up with shit. That's his words. If you want to play fast and loose with what the term occupation is, I didn't use the word occupation. Maybe someone in the chat did. Sure, I would debate Andrew on this. Unfortunately, this is going to be the last I'm streaming today. Tomorrow, though, if he wants to debate about it, sure, I'll fucking debate on it. There's no violence. Not yet. How do you know what'll happen? The fact that we'll have boots there could lead to violence occurring. And then what? If the United States is there and all of a sudden there's a bombing and 2 U.S. service people are hurt, will you say, oh, never mind, it's an occupation now? I mean, again, it seems a little preemptive. Isn't this like the mission accomplished thing all over again? We got it. Mission accomplished. Well, that wasn't the end of it, was it? Now, is it funny that there was I saw that Andrew was like, Maduro will be out in a week, and people are like, you'll see. And it took like an hour, which is funny. It is true. They got Maduro out there. But that doesn't mean that the violence, all of a sudden, that's it. Maybe. Might be that way, but maybe not. All right. We already got a bunch of calls, so we got to be fast with the calls. What's up, Premonition? How you doing?
Oh, good morning, Daryl. I'll only take up a moment. I had a great time last night. I hope I did okay with you.
You did. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. So I'm going to say this very quickly. Maybe people don't have memory of this. A small act by a president, as we all know, can balloon into a world-changing series of events. When President Carter was in office, he deposed the Shah of Iran. And people probably don't realize this, but Iran was as westernized as we are. They wore mini skirts and bikinis, and they weren't wearing burqas. The Carter deposed their Shah, which was their king, which brought in all of the whatever they're called, the mullah guys or whatever they're called, who put everybody in burqas and activated the kill anybody that isn't or schmill anybody that isn't in agreement with our religion. So a tiny act, we cannot foresee where this is going to go. And I can't comment any further on it because I do not know where it's going to go, but I do know that a small act by a president can have planetary ramifications. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. And we'll talk.
Thank you. Premonition. Thank you so much. Yep, you too. Yes, absolutely true. Now, look, yes, I see what people were saying in the chat, right? I see what people were saying in the chat, some of them that are like, yeah, but we don't know. And that's true. But again, what I can't stress enough is, for me, I have principles. I have a fundamental idea. For example, I'm someone that's a fiscal conservative. I want smaller government. And so if Trump administration does something to massively blow out the budget, my initial reading of this, without any further details, is I don't like blowing out the budget. This is bad. You may say, but yes, Rob, you don't realize the way in which Trump is spending this more money now. You're right. It does increase the spending, but it's going to be beneficial over the long term. And so therefore we must wait to reserve judgment. Okay, fair enough. How long do we wait? Have we waited long enough that I could criticize his spending in the first term now? Can I criticize that? Or no? When Trump says he's going to drain the swamp and then appoint someone like John Bolton, and I criticize, and I have people, just like today, exact same type of thing that's like, but Rob, you don't know. We have to wait and see what Trump has in store. Well, perhaps there's reasons for this. So it's too early to cast judgment on whether or not appointing someone like John Bolton is it's too early. It's too early to cast judgment. Hypothetically true. But again, these are the same sorts of things you could say literally about any action taken about any government. We don't have access to all the information. We can't make decisions and judgments in the short term about this. And yet we all do. We all do. When it's an administration we don't like, we're like, yeah, fuck them. This is wrong. All of us. We all do. So why would I no longer do that when it comes to someone that I voted for? Why would I say, I'm usually fiscally conservative, but this time, because the guy I voted for do it, I'm willing to say my impulse to be fiscal conservative. Instead, wouldn't the most prudent thing and consistent thing to be to say, look, my initial reaction is I don't like this. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm open to new evidence to prove me wrong, but I don't like it. How's that any different than what I'm doing here? Of course, hypothetically. So, yes, could it be that new information will come about that paints this in a different light? Absolutely. It absolutely could be. What I'm talking about is inconsistencies that I see right now. I'm talking about a man who bragged about being the no war president. It's on television today saying we're now going to have to run the government of Venezuela with boots on the ground. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about guys saying that it's about stopping Chinese influence. Well, he just told me last month we need to bring in 500,000 Chinese people because if we don't, the horrible sin of the university system in this country that indoctrinates children to hate me would be harmed. Sounds like a win-win to me. But no, Trump says no, we have to help the Chinese to help the universities that hate you. So I'm merely saying, this doesn't seem to make sense. And then, of course, the one thing that I haven't talked about much today, but I mentioned last night is, we had a news cycle that was very much positive to an issue that I think is perhaps the preeminent issue of our time, mass migration. And finally, we had a good news cycle for Trump with this Somalian shit that's like, see, people are starting to wake up. Gone. Focus on that's gone now. Now it's war with Venezuela. There you go. And so it's like, well, and I know what the argument's going to be. I know it. I know, and I understand. I'm not even saying you're wrong, but can't we focus on both things at once? Yes, but we never do. We never do. Ever. Ever. Lindsey Graham's wish list is always fulfilled. Mark Levine's wish list is always fulfilled. And yet, the people back home that's like, I don't know, man, I would like to, deport these fucking illegals. I'd like to lock up the corrupt people. I'd like houses to be affordable and shit. Our wish list never comes about. It's always, well, we could do both, but we just don't. Can we stop funding the universities? We could do both, we just won't. But if you criticize us focusing on other things, we'll just say, well, don't criticize us for that because we could do both. Okay, will you do both? No, but we could. Mega Max up next. What's up, Max? How you doing today?
Nothing much. Doing all right. So a couple of things. One, I totally agree with you on the whole thing of I don't have any, there's no reason to have any faith in this. Could there be, I could be the Machiavellian, world police guy. It's like, look, Rob, here's how we can do it. This can all come up America at the end of this. But it's like with past experiences and all that stuff, I can't, with all honestly, say, yeah, this is going to work out for us. I could give you an idea for how it would work out. And until I see the Pete Hegseth, 5-point plan of all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we'll know when we've accomplished X, Y, and Z. And here's what we'll do to guarantee that this shit sticks, sort of thing. Until I see that from Pete Hegseth or Trump, I don't trust this. And to you on the
is it not real quick? It's reminiscent to the tariff conversation. Now, see if I'm thinking of this wrong, because I trust you'll give me your honest opinion on this, right?
Uh-huh.
I can accept if the tariff argument's like, they tariff us, we tariff them. There's a fairness, a reciprocal nature to that, and you're like, makes sense. We want an even playing field, right? But then the ones that confused me was Canada. And he was like, there will be separate tariffs on Canada. And it has to do with them, and they're not doing the right things on sort of immigration and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I'm willing to hear this out. I'm willing to hear it. So give me the specific details, Trump. What is it that you're asking them to do? And there was like nothing. That's how I feel about this. It's like, okay, I'm open to hearing, right? I'm open to hearing like, we as the United States get to bomb, depose a government, and then take over the government because of drugs interventions, right? We get to do that. And it's like, well, give me the details of that. Because what I don't want is this nebulous like, oh, okay, that's it. So now we just pick and choose, and we could literally say any country in the world, well, drugs have came in from that country, now we get to do this. And that seems haphazardous. So can you give me some details? And I feel like even ever since we've been having these Venezuelan boat strikes, I think the truth is, we all know the truth. This is about regime change. We all know that. It's not just about the drugs. That's the most likely scenario, and people are being obtuse, not admitting that that's what's going on. And it probably has more to do with oil, and it has more to do with Trump's dislike of this regime, which he thinks probably was helped propped up by the CIA and etc. That's what I think's going on.
And not only that, but it's one of those things of I could see justifying the regime change as like a thing of like, well, we're using this as a threat to other South American countries to get their drug problem or drug, lord problem under control. Of like, well, because it's thing of like, look, non-distinct South American country, do X, Y, or Z or else. And they're like, oh yeah, what's that else, bro? And it's Trump pulling out a gun and
listen, and I was against the Iranian attack. I was against the Iranian attack, and I said, things happen, and I obviously, like, first and foremost, I'm an American, and I want what's best for America and American citizens. So even if I dislike this, you say, okay, it happened. I can't roll back the future, so what do you want to see happen? And one of the good things with the Iranian attack that you would hope for, and this is, maybe it shows the rest of the world, like, hey, motherfucker, we ain't fucking around. If you're going to shake the stick, sometimes you got to swing it. But I'm still against this.
Hard. Oh, no, I get that. And I guess when it comes to the university thing, this is something I think is like a conflict of interest brought about by Trump and his donors. I could fully believe that Trump wants to defund the universities, but a bunch of like people from Ivy League schools don't want to see their Ivy League that they came from just fall to shit immediately, sort of thing. I think Dave Green's talked about
maybe so. And if am I part of the Ivy League Trump base? Is the millions of people like me? That's what I'm saying. It's always us. The dudes I see that would crawl over broken glass in communities like I live in rural Pennsylvania, that these communities have been dying for the past 30 years, that would do anything for Donald Trump to fucking support him. It seems their priorities are always left. And so if Trump's thinking is, well, but I have to support my base of Ivy League defenders, once more, the criticism for me is then like, okay, that could be possibly what's going on.
And I think
what about these fucking people? What about my people? When do we get what we need?
And I hate to say this, and I don't say this to sound like an asshole. It's like, you guys aren't the big money. I hate to say, and I get that. And
I agree.
With you. It's wrong.
I agree with you. I know you're not saying what ought to be. You're saying what is. I agree with you.
You guys aren't the big money, and that big money can be used to like throw weight, or it can be, probably won't be, but it's one of those things of, well, I have this card in my deck, and it's like, yeah, but is it ever gonna get drawn and played? Well, no. But it's like, well, this money can be used for like helping out Republicans and other stuff, so we can't let the people whose egos are dependent on these Ivy League university stuff to go. And it's just
it's the same. Bro. It's not just that. So you remember when Trump came out and was like, well, I was at this battery plant, with these illegals in North Carolina, and we can't deport them. And, I talked to a lot of these farmers, and they said, the problem is if we deport these people, then it's the bad hombres that they're forced to hire. So these illegals, maybe we're doing too fast. And it's like, it's the same thing.
Dude, what he's in
effect saying here is this. Well, although, like, there are other priorities. We have to be like, look, if we do this, then there will be negative repercussions. And so therefore, we have to be strategic in how we do this. My criticism of that is, but that's always the answer. It's similar to this, right? Like for years, when I met my wife, it was like, do you guys want to have kids? Do you want to have kids? And I would say this, and I hear people say this all the time. Well, we just need to get in a better financial position. But here's the truth. If you're out there and you're considering, if you're like married and you're considering having kids, you're never going to feel that you're comfortably in a financial position. At some point, you will always use that as the excuse, right? And it'll never happen because you always say, just one more year, and I'll be in a better position. And you will be in a better position in a year. And yet you'll still say, yeah, but one more year. The exception always becomes the rule. Same thing here. Right. And so if it's like, well, we can't really go after the universities now, and we can't really go after these Chinese students now because it's like, okay, but that's what I'm talking about with priorities. So we can rip off the Band-Aid and swing our nuts around and say, fuck you, Venezuela, we'll bomb you. Strong, fucking barking dog. We're the alpha dog when it comes to foreign policy. Right, but back home, we're like, oh, we're meek as a mouse. We can't do that stuff. We have to be slow about all of this. And it's like, at some point, I'm noticing.
Respect rights. We got to do the process. And at this point, I've gotten to the point with some of this shit where it's just, I'm fully on the board of suspend Constitution. And when you do suspend the Constitution, be like, here's our 5-point plan, here's when it gets reinstated. But on this sort of thing of like, when it comes to immigration, the due process that illegals have is no process. You either got your shit or you're out.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not for suspending the Constitution, but I understand there is an argument to be had. If you're going to be like, shit is so fucking corrupt and whatever, these systems at this point, it's like, no. Then start at home, though. If you're going to be if you're going to be like, look, might makes right, and we got to do this, and it's about saving the people of this country, I'm sorry, it doesn't excite me to bomb Venezuela. If you're going to do that shit, then start back home. And instead, back home, it's always every excuse that we can find to justify not doing this shit. And then around the world, and by the way, this isn't out of character. It would be different. Or, I mean, this is out of character. It would be different if it's like, well, you saw Trump 1.0. You saw his first term. He's fucking invading everywhere. He was occupying everywhere. So why would you expect it to be different? Right. That would be an argument. But no, he ran on the no new wars. Right? He said, no, I didn't do this. You don't see this sort of interventionism from me. Right? And now we get this. And we're not supposed to be like, well, this seems to be a radical departure from what we were told to expect. Instead of, cleaning up things back home, it's an aggressive foreign policy. Even if we accept just one little nutshell of this, like the Ukraine conflict. Now, I will admit that it was very vague on what Trump actually was going to do with Ukraine, right? I didn't know if he continued to send money or not. He was vague, right? He was putting out empty platitudes like, I'll end the war on the first day. But my best feeling would be what he was trying to strongly suggest is like, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap that shit up.
Pretty much.
We're gonna
that's
be like,
what I was thinking too. We're just, all right.
Time to stop sending the money.
Game's over. Game's been over for a while.
If you guys want to keep fighting, fine. We'll support you for a little. Here's the problem, right? What I didn't expect was this to become a huge piece of his political capital. What I didn't expect was bombing Iran and getting involved in conflicts in the Middle East to be a huge part of his political capital. What I didn't expect was an attack on Venezuela. And that's listen, I understand the people that want to say both things. You could do both things. You could do foreign to domestic. But you have to understand that the way politics works is there is like a finite amount of political capital. And it seems that right now, I think it seems undoubtable right now that if you had to define what is this administration about, what is their primary focus, the answer is foreign policy. That's it. Like, and that's the exact opposite of what I voted for.
The example of financial capital or like political capital, that you only have a finite amount of it. Anyone remember first term Obama? Because first term Obama, he put all of his political capital into Obamacare, pretty much. Once that got passed, that was his big ask. And, from then on, midterms rolled around, Dems got crushed, and he was a lame duck for the rest of his
All right, I got to let you go.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, we'll see you. King Trump trying so hard to get the left wing's approval that criticizes me. You can see how desperate it is. Can't you see how desperate? This guy, King Trump, so desperately wants to just attack me in any way, shape, or form. He's so desperate for left-wing approval. It's fucking pathetic. King Trump, I'm sorry. We don't like sort of the left-wingers and the people that are desperate for left-wing approval like you here. We don't like it. We don't care for it. Don't care for it. All right. Kryptonite, you said I won't bring in callers that disagree with me. Why don't you call in? I'll move you to the front of the queue. Genome Editor seemed to be someone that disagreed with me. So, okay, Genome Editor, what's happening?
I mostly agree with you, Rob.
Okay.
The only thing I was saying was that you're raging a lot over something that's not very clear. Let me pull over real quick. I started going to work.
Please be safe if you're. I know I've called into shows driving, so be safe. We could yell at each other, but we want to see a fucking car wreck or something.
Yeah. No worries, Rob. I've learned to roll with your ebbs and flows of rage, and I like it sometimes. But the thing is, like, I wasn't actually dissing you. That guy said that you sounded like Brian Shapiro. And then I said, no, he sounds like Dave Smith. And then I was meaning, like, to be fair, Dave Smith is stupid too. But
that's what you could understand me digging it when you said he's stupid too. Yeah. But I don't give a shit. That's fine. You think I'm dumb about it. My point is, though, that I'm not trying to sound like someone else. I've always been a non-interventionist. This isn't something coming out of left field for me. Right? And the point is, I
agree with you on everything, Rob, on everything. Like, except the part where you're like making, all these assumptions about what's gonna happen and getting mad about it. Like, I think we should, maybe give it a couple days.
Let me push back. Let me play devil's advocate. You are exactly. This is the exact argument I had when I pushed back against 15 days to slow the spread. Rob, let's feel it out. Let's see what happens. And now we see the devastation that wrought from that idea. And it's like, well, this is like sort of the mantra that's like, well, when you see things that goes against sort of your worldview and that things that normally you say, yep, I'm against that. Yep, I'm against that. Yep, I'm against that. But when you say, now hold on, don't be against. Let's wait. It's like, okay, but then it would seem prudent to do that in all aspects. And the people that suggest that, they don't live by that advice. As soon as I will guarantee that if this was Joe Biden, I will guarantee that probably you yourself would be like, fuck this. And many, if not many of the people in my audience that hate Joe Biden would have been. But with Trump, it's like, now, come on now, Rob. And no one had a problem with my passion. Now, in retrospect, it's like, we're glad that there was someone like Rob that was out there screaming to the heavens during the lockdowns what a fucking disaster it was. But in real time, many of those same people that are happy that I was passionate were saying, Rob, come on, calm down now. 15 days to slow the spread. It's not the end of the world. I got the receipts. The website's now defunct. This place above top secret, right? All these constitutional conservatives that I dealt with all the time, they're giving me shit. Why are you so upset, Rob? Trust us, bro. Just 15 days to slow the spread. Know what they were saying 3 years later? Yeah, you were right, Rob. You were absolutely right. And yet, in real time, they were like, hey, come on, hold your breath. Don't get fired up over this. What I see is the problem is, your rationale may be prudent. It may be prudent to say, always withhold judgment on all issues until we get more details. Okay, then explain to me why that's what I should do here and only here.
Yeah. Okay. So with the 15 days to slow the spread, okay, and also I'll say that basically everyone who's disagreeing with you on this point was also against 15 days to slow the spread, like me, right? But,
so then you wait, why? What, you didn't know what was going on? How much did you know about the virus? You didn't know. Why would you rush to judgment? Why would you get so upset? Well, I don't understand. That seems nonsensical. Why would you do that?
I'll explain. Because the 15 days to slow the spread was the bad thing, whereas this is potentially a bad thing.
No.
Right?
No. How do you know? If it turns out that it would have turned out that the virus was 100 times as lethal, do you think there's ever a potential from when lockdowns could be something that was good?
No, absolutely not.
You're wrong. So just to be clear,
no, I'm right about that.
Okay, so just to be clear, I'll explain. If Venezuela tomorrow launched a dirty bomb on New York City that had a viral contagion that had a 95% lethality, would you be for quarantining New York City? Or would you say, nope, we could never do that, and thereby ensuring that the virus spread to the United States and killed hundreds of millions? You would say no quarantine, no lockdown?
Yeah, quarantining a city against like going out to other cities is completely different from quarantining people in their homes.
That's a lockdown, isn't it? Now, wait, let me put my left-wing hat. Who said quarantine completely in your homes? Is that what Trump
Yeah.
suggested? Is that what DeSantis was doing?
And-
Completely quarantine in your homes?
And everybody in New York City that got hit with the dirty bomb and wanted to escape would be screwed over, right? It would be bad for them.
Right.
So when you tell the entire country, we're going to do this to everyone, of course you should be upset.
There's a post hoc justification. The reason that it's okay to have hot takes initially on one issue is because that issue was right to have the hot take. But the reason it's not okay to have the hot take now is because it's wrong.
No,
that's what you're in
because
effect
the thing
saying.
that they were doing was
Lockdown's bad.
Obviously bad.
Attacking Venezuela, good. And so therefore you can have a hot take on lockdowns being bad initially, even if we don't have all the details. But when it comes on attacking Venezuela, which is good, then no, you can't have a hot take.
I'm not saying attacking Venezuela is good. I'm saying that attacking Venezuela is not inherently bad. And I want to find out whether it's good or bad.
That some forms of lockdowns isn't always inherently bad.
No, lockdowns are inherently bad.
That's
even
not
in your
true.
example, it's
That's
bad
not
for everybody in New York.
Okay. Okay.
Lockdowns are inherently bad.
Were there troops on the ground there?
What's that?
Were there troops on the ground in Venezuela?
What do you mean?
Last night, were there troops on the ground in Venezuela from the United States?
Oh, yeah, they had to have been.
Is that good?
It's not inherently bad to have troops on the ground in an enemy country that's been talking shit.
Putting troops, it's bad for them. They're in harm's way, which they weren't the day before. Right?
Well, no, I don't agree with that.
You don't think?
No, I don't. I don't
think
having...
they're more at risk. That troops are more at risk with boots on the ground in Venezuela than not boots on. So, for example, if they were at a U.S. base in Texas, equal harm and risk to them as if they're invading Venezuela. Equal risk.
No. Okay, my position is that a defensive military is the only legitimate purpose of the government. Period.
Okay, how I'm not going to get into. I don't have the details to go into this, but if you say defensive if your argument is defensive is we justify being defensive anytime that we invade any country because we say that country was negatively affecting us in some way, therefore it's always defensive, then I suppose you can make that argument. I don't look at it that way. Can you name me a conflict in which the United States, any country in the world today, can you name me anyone, one country that we couldn't say, make a call for, well, actually, this was defensive? Because they affect our country in some way in a negative capacity. Can you name me one country that wouldn't be the case?
Well, of course not.
So therefore, why even use the term defensive, right? If literally we could justify the invasion of any country in the world as defensive, then the term defensive seems to lose the context there.
Okay, if I said an offensive military, would it change the meaning of what I said?
Well, it would.
Then there must be something different.
Well, no, it would.
We can argue about whether or not it's defensive.
It would change the meaning in that because it seems that the reason that you said defensive was because the implication is you're not suggesting that we be an empire. You're not suggesting that we go out through greed. That the justified use of government is to protect us, right? Not to enrich us, but to protect us. That's why I use the word defensive.
Not exactly, but yeah, from foreign threats at least, yeah.
So that's why you use the word defensive. Otherwise, you wouldn't have added, right, that word. You wouldn't have added the descriptor of defensive. You used it for a reason. And if I'm like, yes, but if all interventions could be called defensive, then it's not really just defensive. It doesn't matter.
I agree. And we can.
The point is,
in every conflict, we can always argue about that. But at least we'd be arguing about that instead of.
The point is, can you name me an interventionist policy? Or is it your claim that in, let's say, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, we go back further if you want. Every single one of them, you said, I don't have an opinion. I don't have an opinion. I have to wait for details. That's what you've done in all of those. Vietnam, I don't have an opinion. Right? That's your take, correct? We won't know for a long time whether or not this was the right or the wrong action. We can't have hot takes.
So this came out of nowhere. So that's why I'm saying, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm just saying I don't know. So I'm not enraged about it and I'm not elated about it, right?
That's fine. And if you want to be someone that says I have to wait until years down the road or some arbitrary length of time before you can make a decision, that's fine. No problem. And I hope that you start a show and people tune in and are like, it's great. I like listening to a guy that says, I have no opinions on anything until years later. That's perfectly fine. When we lose the midterms, when Somalians aren't deported, right? When all of this shit happens, when all of that shit happens, and we say, well, thank goodness someone like Genome Editor said, now wait. Let's not make judgments. Let's not.
But that's not what I said.
How long should we wait before we start to make judgments? Give me when would be a sufficient amount of time? Go ahead.
I would just say that I'm waiting until I see enough information for me to make a decision one way or the other. Right?
Okay.
Right now, I don't have enough.
Like? What would the information one way or another? What would that look like? Give me some examples of what that would look like.
Like if we figure out what the purpose of this was in more detail, or
okay, what do you think
like
the purpose
the plan is?
What have we been told what the purpose was?
Stop drugs and
let's assume
and the immigration stuff.
So let's assume that we're not saying perhaps I'll withhold judgment because Trump is lying to me. Okay, let's assume that Trump's telling the truth. Okay, worth it?
Yeah, if Trump's telling the truth, I'm actually not opposed to this.
Okay,
I'm not necessarily for it.
Should we bomb every country that has drugs coming into the United States?
I mean, if we're bombing them every single day anyway, which we are with the drug boats from there, right? And having to do these big military things where we're taking their oil tankers, et cetera, et cetera. I would rather save the money and skip ahead.
We should bomb them if we're already bombing them. That's your argument.
Well, no, not necessarily bomb them, but like kidnap their leader and take over the country. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Should we take over Mexico? How about Mexico? Undoubtedly, more drugs come in through Mexico than Venezuela. Should we take over their leader?
Yeah, but I don't think that the net cost would be on the same playing field. Right?
I mean, I just think that, I think that it's a clever sleight of hand to be like, well, the things that we have hot takes on, it's okay because I'm right on the hot takes. And the things we have hot takes on that I'm not sure, then I say everyone's wrong to have a hot take. Now, you could say, no. I'm telling you that's what you're doing, right? And we could do any number. Like, for example, is there a possibility?
I like your hot
let's do this real quick. We've already done,
okay,
we've
go
already
ahead.
done this in chat. You ready? Is there a hypothetical situation where Democrats should aggressively prosecute Donald Trump that he committed some sort of crime?
Oh, yeah, I already said yeah to that.
Okay, so therefore, you would say if they decide to start impeachment proceedings tomorrow against Trump, and I said this is horseshit, you would say, Rob, wait, hold your horses. That's what you would say?
No, because they have a history of being terrible.
Right. Now you see the
Trump
point.
Trump doesn't have a history of interventionism.
Of course.
So, why jump to that conclusion?
Wait, Trump doesn't, did he bomb Syria?
Yes. Did he put boots on the ground in Syria?
What's the matter? So?
Well, but I mean, that was your distinction.
So he has a history of interventionism. Did he bomb Iran? Is he funding Ukraine?
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at what happened with Iran. You were this mad then too, and I mean, I'm just saying. I get it, and I also agree that you can have a hot take about this. It's just that you're then spiraling into Trump is terrible, terrible, terrible. And I mean, the Democrats are worse no matter what. So, I mean,
that's the real truth.
At some point,
now look, and that's the meat of it. And I got to let you go here. I do appreciate it,
yeah.
Jim. I do. But that's the meat of it. The meat of it is you can never criticize Trump because Democrats are worse. That's the meat of it. And then what happens is this guy that we have an opportunity to actually influence more than any other president in my lifetime, someone who's willing to listen to his base. Constantly, I'm told by people, trust the plan. We have to. Democrats are worse. And so now the aggressive hyper-focus on foreign policy will become what this administration's known for. The domestic issues back home won't. Lindsey Graham wins. Mark Levin wins. Foreign policy neocons for the win. They get everything they want. And all the while, when I protest this, people will say, yeah, but the Democrats are worse. I agree. The Democrats are worse. And Zib, what's happening? All right. Bail Factor, what's happening?
Hey, Happy New Year, Rob.
Yes, Happy New Year. How's it going, man?
It's going okay. I'm not going to pretend that I know all about Venezuela or, the implications that this has. for me, I mean, I'm just pissed that this is taking airtime away from the Somalian daycare scandal. And it reminds me of, I'm sure that people in the chat have seen this clip, but Nick Fuentes, he said something along the lines of criticizing this current administration, that Trump is sort of, or Trump's administration is sort of doing this performative cruelty instead of, like, well, not necessarily cruelty, but sort of flamboyant theatrics instead of actually doing anything. So, for example, like they'll have the Pokemon Go deportation advert or whatever. They'll have, you know, the Trump and Minecraft thing without actually really doing anything to change the culture. And what I'd like to add is that, sorry about that. What I'd like to add is that it's really the worst of both worlds, because we get blue balled, like we don't actually get what we want, and it allows the Democrats to have something concrete to point to. Look, like, you know, Trump is being so mean, and unfortunately, it just works. And that's my takeaway from all this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a huge part of the concern of this. It's something that I've talked about a lot, and it's a lot of the people that criticize my non-interventionist policy, right? It's something that I don't see them handling. All they say is, yeah, I wish Trump would do more domestically, or yes, he could do both. Wait and see, he'll do both. Maybe he will. When he does both, I'll say, okay, that part of my criticism doesn't seem to be as warranted, because Trump took actions later that we saw that were more in line with what he should be doing domestically based on these same concerns, right? It doesn't inspire hope when Trump's giving a speech today talking about, yes, we've deployed people like the National Guard, we've done things, and we've been in cities like Los Angeles and DC, and we're going to pull back from those cities because now we're focused on Venezuela. It doesn't inspire confidence that this is a person who says that the priorities are dealing with these domestic issues first and foremost. And so when we see like a news cycle where we're all chomping at the bit, like, please do something about the mass invasion of this country, and what we see is Republicans in Congress are like, oh yeah, man, this is crazy. This Minnesota shit's crazy with these Somalians. You know what we're going to do? Pass a budget for another $5 billion for refugee settlement. Trump administration, if you had one of two choices, either A, bomb Venezuela, or B, be out there every day going, what the fuck are these Republicans doing? $0 for refugee. Zero. Right? He could be doing that, and yet he doesn't. He doesn't do that. He's not doing that at all. Instead, you could say, but he could do both. But he hasn't and won't. He has it and won't. And instead, he'll tell us it's about protecting us. It's about protecting us back home. That's what it's about. We have to stop China working with Venezuela to send fentanyl to the United States. Meanwhile, we have to accept 500,000 Chinese students to our universities or to harm U.S. universities. And these people have no answer. They have no answer. Their answer is just like, oh, Rob, you're a Democrat. Oh, Rob, wait. You just got to wait. Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense, but trust me, it'll all work out just like it did in the first administration. So.
Yeah, and one point I wanted to make about the people saying, don't criticize Trump. And just to be clear, I don't agree with what they're saying, but what I think they're actually saying is that you should they have this mentality where it's like you have to be sort of a united front. And just to be clear, I don't agree with that. If you actually care more about the harm that this is going to cause, then I think that that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah. But yeah, Rob, thanks for having me.
Yes, I appreciate it always, man. Take it easy. All right, sorry, I got a lot of calls to get through. Jose, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, Rob? How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Good. Happy New Year to everyone. God bless. I just wanted to call. I wanted to chime in my 2 cents on this. So I do have my position on this is, and I have, like everybody, I have just about the same information as everyone else. And sorry for the background noise. Let me step outside for a second. So my thing is, why, instead of focusing on Venezuela and other countries, or just in general, I would recommend just focusing on what we're doing in borders in the country. Like, why don't we send more troops to New York City to stop more crime there, like we've been doing in Chicago, or even in Texas, or even in the crime and the hot spots in the country? Why not focus on our domestic issues first, and then worry about what's going on outside of the country? That's the question I have. if I'm
Yeah,
supporting
and
what,
that's
yeah,
exactly where I am. That's a huge portion. Like I even if I wouldn't like this interventionism, and I don't, even independently of that. But one of the grave concerns is, okay, you're willing to accept that there's going to be decisions that the people you vote for make that you don't agree with all of them in entirety. But one of the big things is it's like you're willing to accept that, okay, I voted for this guy and there's things he's doing that I don't really like as long as he's doing the things that I thought. And instead, this seems to be the inverse. I thought that Trump ran on the no new wars president. I thought that Trump ran on it's about making America great and it's about domestic issues. I thought that's what it was about. And instead, it seems increasingly in the past 4 or 5 months of the Trump administration that it's all foreign policy all the time. That's what the focus is at 90% of the time. 90% of the time. That's what it seems like. And so it is undoubtable that that's the effect of what's going on. That's undoubtable, right? And you might say, well, he's trying real hard domestically. He is. Maybe he is, but I'm telling you, it's not coming across that way. And what it's coming across, just like the first administration, we didn't get the draining of the swamp. We didn't get it. We didn't get around to it. Over and over, I was told, as I said, what are we doing with this situation? What are we doing? This doesn't seem to be a big priority. Why are we spending time on this? Why are we doing this? Over and over, I was told, Rob, trust the plan. Trust us. Rob, he's getting around to draining the swamp. He is. Rob, why are you getting so fired up? Why are you so fired up about Bill Barr? Rob, you don't know all the details. Trust the plan. Trust us. Trust. It's going to work out. You just got to, I trust Trump. Trump's a good guy. It's going to work out. And then at the end of the day, when it didn't work out, those people said, well, oh well, nonetheless. And I'm like, see, if only we'd have been speaking up in real time. And yet, the very people that could have steered Trump, his constituents, into the right direction to doing the right things, so many of them said, no, we trust the plan. We just trust the plan. And you're a fool if you don't just trust the plan, and you have to wait for more details. You'll see the plan will work out, or at least it might work out. So don't protest. Don't get upset. Don't say that you think this is wrong. And so that's where we find ourselves now. Where we find ourselves is that we will be told we have to put things like Chinese students in the United States on the back burner. We have to put mass deportations of all illegals on the back burner. We have to put the stopping funding of refugees. It has to be on the back burner. We have to put the rooting out the swamp in places FBI. That has to be on the back burner as well. We have to put stopping crimes in federal districts like DC has to be on the background because we have to work on Iran. And we have to work on Venezuela, and we have to work on Ukraine, Russia. And I'm sorry, that don't do shit for my community back home.
See, that's where I agree. I've been listening to the podcast right now, or for the show, for like about 40 minutes. And it took me a second I said to myself, oh, I need more information. I said the same thing as one of the callers did not too long ago. I need more information. But it hit me earlier. This hit me way earlier because I was in those same shoes. I was like, wait. It's better if I take some type of stance on this now. What's something I disagree with this whole situation going on with us invading, taking Maduro away and all of this stuff? I said to myself, hold on, there's some unresolved issues that we haven't done yet in this country yet. What's the point of us wasting our resources on foreign issues going on instead of focusing on what we have going on right now? Let's finish what we have going on now first. That way it'll help with your campaign. It'll help with anyone who's doubting you. And also, in my opinion, you got to have some type of stance. Even if you have limited information, at least find a stance of your own to at least, have a base to support whatever you're...
Well, these people, so many people, and I understand this, so many people's stance is, I trust my guy. And so I'm going to give my guy the benefit of the doubt, and if the exact same action happened with a different guy, I wouldn't. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. It's not who I am, though. That's just not me. I have what I think, like I am always leery of spending huge amounts of government dollars. I'm not saying that it's never possible. I'm not saying that it's never a good thing, but that's the default position I'm coming from, right? But a lot of people, like Tea Party people, were like, oh, too much spending under Obama. The spending's horrendous. It's horrendous. And as soon as Trump starts spending at a higher clip than Obama, they're like, yeah, but it's my guy. Trust, we'll see, it'll work out. And that's not who I am. I'm not saying they're horrible people. That's just, I think it's a bad way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I could support support a political party or campaign, or even the president of my own free will. But at the same time, I gotta be like, look, if your game is off, your game is off. I don't agree with this. That's how you keep consistency. That's how you keep your own opinion valid and your own opinion pure from any other. Well, not necessarily pure, but influenced by just hopping on the bandwagon. All right, let's hop on the bandwagon. If you don't disagree with something, you don't say anything. No, if you disagree with something, come on. You need your opinion to make it an issue so you can understand more about what's going on. That's how I see things.
All right, man. Well, hey, I gotta go. I got a bunch of calls, but I appreciate it, Jose. Thanks so much, man.
Anytime, Rob. Take care. God bless.
Take care. Yep. Tomahawk, what's happening?
Hey, Rob. Good to see you, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What's happening?
Hey, I've been listening and watching this entire thing unfold myself, and I'm trying to learn because I don't have my thoughts fully formed, but I'm trying to listen to everybody. I wanted to ask because I feel you on the fact that Trump isn't, say, doing enough, or Trump is not focusing on the domestic side of things, but he's so willing to go foreign. And it's like, I want to be on the trust the process guy, but every time I hear you basically saying, well, just trust the process because it's your guy, trust the process because it's your guy, and then it doesn't work out, I also understand that. So it's like, I'm trying to get where you would be more, I guess, accepting of how doing something like this would be okay would be more okay in your eyes when, even though he's like, given everything that he's done so far, even though he could be doing more, where, especially with the Venezuelan people, I'm coming at it from the Venezuelan people side, and how everyone in Venezuela and all over the country, all over the world, who are Venezuelans who were displaced by Maduro are cheering for this.
Same's true of Gaddafi, though, right? I'd start with there. Many people cheered Gaddafi. And then what happened? Well, what happened was we left Gaddafi, and it was a country that was ran by a bad person, right? And a lot of people were very upset about it. And we were told we had to intervene because Gaddafi was so bad. And we intervened. And the news cycle afterwards said so many people that were cheering the deposition of Gaddafi. And now we have open-air slave markets in Libya. No one gives a shit. Right? Gotcha. And we say, so what would possibly happen? Well, all sorts of things could happen. Like, I'll repeat myself. We could find out that there was evidence that Maduro was about to launch a nuclear attack or a biological attack in the United States, and therefore this was justified. Could happen, right? There's a lot of other things that could justify why I'd be okay with it. Now, there are things that I would still say I am against this, but things could still end up good. For example, it could be that if we look back and we would just say, hypothetically, we say we disagree with the Iraq war. But if I could, like, we die and we go to heaven and God says, now listen, although the Iraq war was done for corrupt reasons and lies, let me show you the alternate history when you didn't invade Iraq. All of a sudden we had 10 9/11s. Therefore, wouldn't you say it was justified? And it's like, well, that may be the case, but I can't use that sort of framework in order to look at these things, because then I would never be able to criticize anything, because there's always the potential that. So what I would say to this is, I have principles, right? I have principles, and the principles are something, at least in the way that I have these principles, or the way principles isn't even the right word. I have sort of a default positions that I have, that I usually think big spending is bad. That doesn't mean that there's never a case. I usually think interventionism, given the current crop of what we've seen over and over and over again, is bad. That's what I think. And so my position is going to be, that's bad until I see evidence to suggest that this time is the exception and it's something that's good. And I think that this sort of mantra is going to be used over. Right now, the people cheering, if Trump bombs Mexico tomorrow, they're going to say good. And if Trump bombs Ecuador the day after that, they're going to say good. Good. Right. Absolutely. They'll say it every single time. You won't be able, and they'll lie to you right now. They'll lie to your fucking face right now, these people in chat. Right? They'll lie and they'll say, oh, no. I wouldn't. I would see through that shit. If Trump all of a sudden came out and said, a lot of drugs are coming through Zimbabwe, so we had to bomb them, I wouldn't support that. I'd say, no. But that's what they would do. They would support every single one, and they would say, hey, it's about protecting America. We have to do it.
And given the history that I'm sure that everyone in chat, I bet, has experienced over the years, that U.S. interventionism has not yielded the fruits that we've all, quote unquote, wanted to see for actions like this. And so to think that it would be any different this time around with Maduro and Venezuela is kind of asinine, because we've seen this happen before. We've heard all of this before. We've seen it all before, and it has not ended up the way that and it's basically, it's the definition of insanity. And it's like, I want the same, and I agree, I want the same energy that he has for foreign policy, that all of these presidents have had for foreign policy, to be used for domestic policy. If he's going to be so gung-ho on Venezuela, he should be as gung-ho as he is on Venezuela as my own state of California, where we kind of need his kind of this sort of decisive interventionist right now. We still need the Somali thing and the.
Well, that
And
it's, I gotta let you go, Tyler, because I have so many people. But yes, I agree, and I'll riff on. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, that's exactly it. If the argument's gonna, let's just do it straight up. Let's imagine that I'm talking to what I think Andrew Wilson will say, right? Rob, stop being a pussy, right? Stop being a pussy. Might makes right. Fuck it. You know why the United States did this? Because they can. That's why. Because fuck them. Fuck these commies. Yeah, we took them out. We don't give a fuck if it's against international law. We don't give a fuck if it's against U.S. law. Do not give a shit. Mike makes right. I'll say, okay, then let's do that to Gavin Newsom. Right? Let's do that to James Comey. Right? Let's do that to these Somalians. Well, that's right. That's what I thought. And he might say, good, do it. Great. Then when he starts doing that, then I'll evaluate this argument. Until then, it seems that even if we accept the idea of might makes right, the priorities of this administration aren't the priorities that align with me. Do I care that people are dying of fentanyl? Sure. Can I logically see that this is occurring all over the place? Yeah. Imagine, it would be like, it'd be no different than being like, Rob, don't you care that children have been assaulted? Yeah, therefore we need to ban Christianity. Well, that's absurd. That goes too far. That's ridiculous. Isn't it true that Christians have assaulted children? Yes, but this is... Oh, so you don't care about children. You don't care about fentanyl deaths? You don't care? Well, then we have to bomb Venezuela because we can. Okay, if that's going to be the mantra, then fuck it. Let's go full bore. Let's do it. Mike makes right, motherfucker. Right? Let's take over Mexico. Take it too. Kick out these fucking Democrats. Kick out these Somalians. Kick out these foreigners. Let's do it. Now I'm straw-manning Andrew. Tell me Andrew's position. Go ahead. Go ahead. Where was my straw man of Andrew? Am I incorrect that it seemed to be based on what little I saw of Andrew saying last night and what I saw his post on X? He said, fuck these commies. It's good. We got the will to do it. We have the might. Let's do it. Tell me where I'm wrong. Go ahead. Tell me where I'm straw manning him. Go ahead. I'm saying, I'm imagining that I'm talking to Andrew, and I'd say, if that's the case, then, if we're going to say, fuck it, fuck these commies, we got the strength to do it, how about the commies back home? I am well aware of the concept of force doctrine is a descriptor, not a prescriptor. And yet, in this instance, if you are saying, like, you understand the difference. If we say, well, force doctrine it's not might makes right, it's just might makes. Okay, true. Then use the might to do the shit that I want. That's what we should do, right? That's what we're talking about, what we want to have happened. If the argument is just force makes, okay, then does Trump have the force? Yes, then make. 100% wrong. L take. Tell me what Andrew's take is then. Tell me what the take is then. Yes, I'm a political commentator. Andrew's a political commentator. Even beyond being commentators, we are people that have political wants. We vote for people, we push people because we want them to do certain things. I don't have the might. I don't, right? I don't. It is true that force doctrine exists, that might makes, that is a descriptor. And yet what we say is, here are the people with the force. We would like them to do X. That's what we would like to see. When they do something, we say they had the force to do it. We know that because they did it. Therefore, they had the force to be able to do it. Is that something we wanted to see done? For example, it could be that China becomes more powerful than the United States, invades the United States, and imprisons us all. And if I would say, we need to stop that, we need to reach up to stop, for you to say, yeah, but might makes. Why even talk about it? Might makes. My response to that would be, but what we're talking about is when we're trying to influence the people with force to do the things that we think would be beneficial. In other words, Andrew doesn't merely say, force doctrine exists, therefore I never speak in oughts. What's the point of saying an ought? There's only force and therefore oughts are meaningless. If that was the case, Andrew wouldn't say we ought to have a Christian nationalist society, because my response to be that is, but we don't. Force. And he would say, right, I agree. In order to have a Christian nationalist society, it would imply use of force. And yet, what we should do is the fact that Christians are the majority in this country adequately use that force to advocate for their self-interest. Yes, an ought claim based on the reality of the descriptive claim of force being necessary to wield power. Correct. My claim is one of Andrew's ought claims, or rather looking as to whether something was good or not, is good. Bomb these fucking commies. I presume he'll say, we have the force, we did it, and that's why it's good. We should wield the force to do things that I want. I don't have a problem with that. I understand. I say, but then why limit that to just foreign policy? Why not use the force back home? That's what I'm talking about. Super chats. Crisco, $2 says rant plus debate equals debate review. 10 out of 10 content. Thank you. We talk about women. $5 says, tell you what, Rob, I'm not interested in watching you play chess, but if you want to do a stream teaching me how to play, I would definitely watch. I'm so bad at chess, I would not be any good teaching people. Naughty Germ, thanks so much, man, for the $5. Always a pleasure. Chop, $5 says, concerning question, will this allow Brits to come arrest Americans for what they say online? I mean, I guess there's two ways of looking at it. This would set the precedent that, yes, as long as if they become the superpower, there's going to be an awful lot of fucking people, and they will have a legitimate axe to grind, be like, hey, motherfuckers, when you guys had the power, you said, fuck you, we'll do whatever we want. Now we're going to do the same. So I guess at this point, you just hope that they never get power, but I guess it's inevitable because if they wanted to, they would anyways. Crisco, $5 says, Venezuelan oil is to get Canadian oil because Trump get anything from Carney. Liberals in Canada right now, perhaps. Crawl Rust, $5 says, this was about oil in China, not drugs. Yep. The good Austin, $5 says, the argument comes from Venezuelans. They say China, Russia, and Iran are there operating freely while creating the second biggest dysphoria in world history. World history? I take umbrage with that. World history, I mean, there's an awful lot of fucking dysporic regimes in world history. I'm not saying that Venezuela is good, but Extanglia, $5 says, Venezuela currently has the world's largest oil reserves. Yep, it's more about that than fentanyl. Extanglia, again, $5 says, if regime change in Venezuela makes prices in the U.S. go down due to oil trade, I'm all for it. Perhaps, at least that's an honest argument. I don't want the United States to be intervening in countries around the world just to benefit us economically back home, particularly because I could see that there are negative consequences. Most of those oil benefit, like, for example, you could say the same thing of places like Afghanistan, places like Iraq. And yet, even as we were invading them, even if we saw a short-term lowering of prices, it turns out that it used to be that U.S. foreign policy was, when we did these sort of color revolutions and interventions, it benefited U.S. companies that employed U.S. people. Now we see the opposite. So this won't really, at the end of the, have long-term benefit to the people of the United States as much as it'll have long-term benefit to a bunch of companies that get access to that oil that then proceed to sell it back to us. FDNY, $5 says, disagree, but here's a 5 for the passion. Thank you. Perry Incorporated, $5 says, been a while since I gave you money. Having lived with a dealer, all his materials came from Mexico, and his equipment came from China. Yep. Well, maybe we'll invade there next. Alcala, $5 says, you're making perfect sense, brother. God bless. Thank you. AJC, $50 says, this is why I love watching the show. I might disagree with you. I'm biased and watching what Fent does to people in my community. Less drugs is good to me, but show me the other perspective, and I appreciate it. Thank you for the input. Thank you. And I don't even mind people disagreeing with me and tell me to fuck up. But if you're going to say, like, you're trying to appeal to fucking the Democrats, you're sounding like Brian Shapiro. I mean, I'll tell you, go fuck yourself. You're crying about something. Go fuck yourself. But yeah, it's fine. You can disagree, and I don't have hard feelings to tell you to go fuck yourself either. It's fine by me. Clintank Gaming Official, thanks so much, man. As always, $5 says, if we lost civilians in a home attack due to disabling Iran's nuclear program, wouldn't that be the greater good? If Iran gets nukes, it'll be bad, right? You can say that about anything. Why not depose the United Kingdom right now, right? The United Kingdom is vehemently, the United Kingdom has a direct threat to me. They are actively trying to censor free speech around the world, and they're punishing the very few U.S. companies that are trying to advocate to allow people like me to speak. So let's attack. The threat is too much. If I am censored and all of us are censored, and then you can draw a logical line to sort of the progressive nightmare that will happen in this country. Why not attack now? The Iranian situation different as well. Arguably more justified than Venezuela. I don't think the argument was Venezuela's about to get nukes and bomb people. And again, you could make this claim about any country that has nukes or is on the verge of getting nukes, that we must intervene and stop now before they have ability to use this. Mr. B, $20 says, words can't express how angry I was when I saw the size of the houses of Minnesota Somali daycare owners were living in on our tax dollars. And what's Trump's response? Get Maduro. It's also tiresome, Rob. Yep. Josette, $10 says, I need more information on this and some clarity on the issue because this is an interesting situation. It is. Wade Boggs, $10 says, day shift Wade Boggs is frugal and only 1/5 as fun as alter ego. Night shift Wade Boggs, thank you. James, $10 says, sick of this crap. Voted for him 3 times and he did the meme. No matter who you vote for, you get John McCain's foreign policy. At least it was on our hemisphere, I guess, this time. By the way, why is only the Western Hemisphere matter? Why? How about the Northern Hemisphere? Why don't we talk about that? Right? Like, the idea of, like, the geographic argument, presumably has to do with this. Closer geography means more ability to impact the United States. Right? That would seem to be the argument. It makes sense a lot of times. Mexico, their policies, because they're directly connected to us, we can see. But if I can make the argument that the United Kingdom has more negative detriment despite the fact an ocean being in between, what's the difference? And if it's just about the word hemisphere, okay, we're in the same hemisphere, the northern one. Yes, it used to be that an ocean apart would mean, well, less of an ability to affect, but that's not the world we live in now. Like, that ocean means very little when you can take a flight and get there within a day. And that the actions you could take are, like, sort of instantaneous through telecommunications, etc. Another new account, $10 says, silver lining. U.S. military pulled a clean operation with 0 U.S. casualties, as far as I know. Just the logistics alone, 150 aircraft, 1 spot, different units, no crashes, blue and blue. And maybe I'll go further. Didn't seem to be any leaks, which is shocking, right? When it comes to the way things operate now. Don't let my sort of disliking what it seems to be the situation was imply that I don't immensely respect the ability of the service members that carried out this mission. And again, perhaps we'll find out that unfortunately service members were harmed. I don't know. It's still early. But let's hope we don't. And the flawlessness, I mean, I'll be the first to admit this. I didn't anticipate that Maduro would hold out long against the United States, but I'm not going to bullshit you and tell you I would have predicted 1 hour. That's crazy. That's crazy work. Crazy work. And if you are going to do something like this, it's like, then let's do it quickly, efficiently. So for that, I support all of that, right? There could be foreign policy decisions that you agree with and that you disagree with, but you could have a separate take on whether or not you think it was done in an efficient, good manner. For example, on the other end, I agreed with the Joe Biden decision to pull out of Afghanistan. And yet the way he did it was fucking bumbling, stupid, and resulted in the deaths of service members. And it was terrible. If I disagree with the bombing of Venezuela, and yet it's like, well, shit, look at this. A seemingly at this point, flawless mission execution. I can make that claim. Kryptonite Good, $10 says, this is for not putting me on timeout or banning me. This is how society should work. Be allowed to disagree, but respect. You don't have to be respectful, but thank you. Gavin Freenan, $10 says, well, I don't necessarily agree with Rob on this one. I can understand why the tiredness doing be the world police for a couple generations now and still not happening our own enough directly. It's always the case. We're always told, trust us, bro. This time it's necessary. And Kokomo, $10 says, catching up in the stream, but I'm glad you had this take about it. It shows consistency. I'm puzzled by it as well to take it to this level of action. We need to have something major come of it to justify. Agreed. Left-handed assassin, thanks for the $5. Johnny Locke, Keck, $5 says, this is the excuse Trump has needed to bring immigrants back in the U.S. By March, there will be millions being imported from Venezuela. Probably. We'll probably see Venezuelans come in. And unfortunately, it'll be cheered on by so many Trump supporters that were like, we don't want any more migration. They'll cheer it on. They'll tell you no. Right now in chat, the ones that are like, this is good. If it results in more Venezuelans coming here, they'll say, well, I'd be against it. But they're lying. They would support it. They'd say, it was worth it. You'll see. Mark my words, if that's what happened. Now, You could, though, make the hypothetical argument. Actually, it'll lead to less Venezuelans because we're going to stabilize the country, and therefore there'll be no excuse to have them here. Possibly. Logical thoughts, $5. Thanks so much. Says cheers. The great drunk Batman. Member for 10 months says bye-bye Maduro. He definitely seems to not be there. Contemporary Compendium, $5 says definitely use might to fix our problems at home first, then go for the drugs oil influence worldwide. That's what I would say. Fuel my fire. $5 says let's go. And another new account, $5 says shit, that reminds me. Brian Shapiro lied about Trump's evac plan being the same. He wanted the evac out of Bagram plus other details. Of course, it's absolutely. Over on Rumble, thank you so much to everyone that's watching over there. Now, have I sufficiently pissed off large portions of my audience enough yet? And $5 says, I'm a lefty and I disagree with you on basically everything, but I respect your opposition to this invasion. Well, I don't give a fuck what you think as a lefty. Thank you, but I just don't give a shit. All I could do is be myself consistently. That's it, right? I think the leadership of the lefty and the vast majority of the people that are left-wingers absolutely will oppose this, right? Absolutely will oppose this just because it's a Trump thing. All right, I got to be quick because I still got like 10 callers on the line, so we got to be very fast for everyone. Nate, what's happening, my friend? Can't hear you, man. Still can't hear you. I'll try to come back. Next up, we got Kurt. What's up, Kurt? How you doing this fine day?
What's up, brother, man? How you doing?
Doing great. I mean, despite the fact that I'm not a fan of this situation. My personal life's going great. I'm married. I'm happy. My kid's great. So
there you go, man. It's a new year, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty happy, but not about this situation. I was trying to enjoy my fucking vacation, and then they go and pull this shit. I can't believe it, man. This is absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, for me, it's just.
What part of America first has anything to do with this shit?
I mean, if you steel man it as best as possible, you could make two arguments. You could say, well, if it's about getting oil, then good for Americans. We'll get cheap oil. And fentanyl is bad. And so if we could go into other countries with flawless execution and stop fentanyl from coming into the United States.
Why don't we do that with Mexico?
Well,
why don't we give them people a place to live that's fucking worth living in?
Yeah, and it's
that easy.
And again, it's one thing if we're talking specifically about cartels operating on U.S. soil, right? And if so, then clearly the vast bulk of this is coming directly from Mexico. And we'll see. Maybe they'll be able to draw a direct line to like, no, there were terror cells operating in the United States that Maduro directly. We'll see what they do. But if it's literally just about drugs, it's like
don't feed that bullshit with anything. I mean, you know what I mean? What you can't. What there's no cartels working in America right now. There's no MS-13. You know what I mean? There's other priorities, man.
Yeah, it just, for me, I think that it illustrates a greater, like, and it illustrates two things. One, it sets the propensity going forward for these sorts of aggressive unilateral interventions from the executive branch, which I don't like if it's parties I don't like, and so I don't want parties I do like doing it. The other thing
we fought for him to be able to govern, and he's just a fucking neocon. I mean, you know what I mean? He's just a typical neocon, just, war.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, it certainly seems to illustrate a pattern at this point, that's the focus. The focus is foreign policy. And look, if you accept this and you say, well, look, here's the deal, right? Like, this is true. All policy is foreign policy and domestic policy simultaneous. Yes, that's true. But it's clear what we're talking about specifically here. There is more tangible, immediate, real-world things you could do right here at home without putting our troops in harm's way, without inflaming tensions around the world. There's tons of things we can come up with. How about using your political capital to pressure Republicans or vetoing the bill that they're going to send that's going to spend billions of dollars for refugees, even after we see what's going on with the Somalian daycare? How about that? Do that, Trump. But he won't. He will not do it. You know it, I know it, and everyone here watching knows it. At the same time that he speaks out of one side of his mouth, well, Venezuela, working with China, fentanyl, he says out of the other, but we have to allow 500,000 Chinese students into the country.
Yeah,
and so it's like, it's the lack of consistency. You could say, if the guy's like, look, fuck China, we're going full bore. I get it. Even if I don't agree, you're like, this is a consistent approach. But instead what we get is the easy win that's like, hey, no, your students can't come here, right? That's easy. Requires no troops. It's like, nope, With the strike of a pen, we're like, no, we're just not going to accept that. Nope. Right? We're not going to use U.S. tax dollars to subsidize Chinese students going to Ivy League universities that both the university and the students hate the average American. We're not going to subsidize that.
We don't have tons of Americans that want those positions themselves, even though they're lefties. I mean, shit, I'd rather them get them the Chinese to just take it, go somewhere else.
I gotta go because I got a ton of people on the line. But Kurt, it's always
all right, brother. You take it easy, man.
Family, a great New Year. Hopefully,
yes, sir. You as well, man. Y'all have a good one.
Yep, take it easy.
Later, buddy.
All right, here's someone that'll disagree with me. I'm convinced. Our good friend Aircraft Sparky, what's happening, man? Vox Populi, how you doing? I'm assuming you like this.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Mixed feelings, actually. So I am unhappy with the invasion of Iraq. However, not Iraq, Venezuela. But I'm very happy. Slip. You know it. But I'm actually happy with the sustainment plan that they are putting forward, with the U.S. actually governing Venezuela for an amount of time to help stabilize the area. These are things that we did with Germany. This is what we did with Japan. This is what made invaluable allies following a very nasty war. But I do see this as just a practice run. President Scheinbaum, you're next. And that's basically what happened. That's what they were talking about on the press conference. They just weren't coming out and saying it as open.
Well, I do think that, like, look, what you need to do is always use the situation to your advantage, no matter what, right? And if I don't like this, like, it's the same with the bombing of Iran. I don't have to like it, but one of the things I want the Trump administration doing, it happened, right? So what you should be doing is, like, using that, right? That's right, motherfuckers. You see what happens? That is what I want. I don't want them to attack again, but I want them to use the threat of attacking again if that changes policy in a way that benefits. I don't disagree with you. Like, look, one of the big problems, I saw Glenn Greenwald talk about this, is like, look, this ain't over because you can't just leave a power vacuum, right? No, that's what we see in a place like Syria. That's what we'll see in a place like Afghanistan. That's what we saw
in Iraq.
Yeah. Right, Iraq. So it's like, okay, you stay there. But then the problem with that is, like, okay, but now we're talking about Afghanistan 2.0? How long are we going to stay there?
So we were the absolute governors of Germany, for our sector of Germany, for like 30 or 40 years. Now, I don't want to see American military stationed down there for decades by any means. And in fact, but where we have done nation building, every time we have failed is because we failed to govern and control their culture. That's really what.
Right. I don't really. But you understand, even if I accept this, right, which I think there's truth to this, right? The problem is then it's clear that that's where the priority is going to be, not on domestic issues.
Well,
and
so
it's over, right? Will you acknowledge there is zero chance? I'll ask this real quick and then I'll leave you expand. The Republicans absolutely are going to continue to fund refugees, and there is zero chance that Trump vetoes it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I actually do agree with that. Yes, and I don't like that. Here's tangentially, this is going to be for domestic purposes, and it's because of the Mexico question. Is the way that I see it. Let's be honest, fentanyl does not come out of Venezuela; it comes out of Mexico.
Yep.
Fentanyl was the smokescreen in order to get access to that heavy crude that they have down in Venezuela. That not Maduro, but who was a previous president that canceled the oil leases to
Chavez.
America. Yeah, Hugo Chavez.
Yeah. They bombed his grave too. Did you see that?
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. Get smoked, socialist, fucking commies. Anyway, that was the most base part of the entire invasion right there. It was just blasting that mausoleum. But
Mr. B for $10 says, convince pirates to hand Paul Skeens over to the Padres. You're calling this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the Padres would be able to, like, give the King's ransom that it would take back, like, a bag of baseballs, which is what the Pirates have. Anyways, neither here nor there.
But no, it's kind of a funny thing because I am anti-interventionalist. However, I'm also the same guy that has called to make North America America for once. And we got to do that through taking over Mexico. And the way we actually solve the fentanyl crisis, ladies and gentlemen, is we overthrow the narco-terrorist government that is Mexico. And that is a domestic policy. That actually is
so. I definitely have to go. I'd be happy to talk about it more, but I got a bunch of callers and I got to be out at 2. So, but it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, it's good to see you, and take care, brother.
Take it easy. Again, we have like I mean, you might as well get it written on a T-shirt. No one disagrees that we need to get one an H-1B. We can do both. We could do both. We could do both. We could do both. We could do both. And yet we don't. We could. Hypothetically, you're right, we could, but we don't. So therefore, it doesn't matter what could happen. We also could spring wings and fly, but we won't. So what's the point of talking about it? If I have to choose between Trump's focus being on these foreign policy issues or Trump's focus being domestically with things like H-1B, I choose the latter, right? If the argument is we need to do the foreign policy shit to protect us back home, and I say, but here's the shit back home we could be doing that's more impactful on the very same things, and we don't do that, then it seems to belie the argument that we had to do this for these things back home. We could do both. We could do both. We could do. Don't criticize that we're not doing both because we could do both, and yet we're not. Rome Egypt, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, I was kind of hoping I'd be later. I had like written down 7 points to go through. I don't think
I only got like 2-3 minutes. I'm so sorry, but
it's okay. Yeah. Sorry, hold on. I do want to point out that when Russia goes to topple a government, it turns into a 3-year war, and when we do it, we take the world record for shortest war, beating out Israel and Germany.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, you say that. It depends on how you... Right, we declared...
It's mostly a joke.
Was the leader. Right. Yeah, I know, but like, I mean, when did we win the war in Afghanistan?
Oh, I'm not talking about Afghanistan.
I know, but hypothetically, when do you think people would say we won it? First year?
Probably when we had the government installed that we supported.
And
that's
so then, and yet,
but then you had
18 years later, troops being there, troops being attacked. You know 18 years after we won, right?
So that's what I'm talking about. So I disagree with you loosely on this. I think you could probably guess that from previous columns we've had, right?
Yeah.
This is, I think, a little different than Gaddafi, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, all these places, because this is a country where the culture is actually kind of similar to ours. The people already want and like democracy. The people already like the kind of governing that America does, right? But they've just had such a corrupt institution above them and spineless leaders abroad not willing to help them that they're not able to have the kind of country they want. And they did steal from America, the oil, when they seized that oil, right? And
well, they stole from American companies, but yes.
Same diff to me, right? Anyway,
well, okay, if that's the case, then we should go to war with the European Union because they're censoring America by going after X, right?
If they nationalize America, X, well, we have
nationalize if they find it.
Fine, they have right to do They're not seizing the companies for themselves. Every country has the right to tax or fine whatever operating within their country, right? They're not if they were to seize the infrastructure and try to take control of the company, I would not be very happy. And if, as a result, we did do limited strikes into Europe, I might be okay with that because I don't care about what relationship we have with Europe. If they're going directly against our interests while begging us for military help, you don't really get to do that. But anyways, that's on a side. I am also confused why people think Trump is hiding the ball here and that this is somehow secretly for oil. This is not a secret. He said it like 6 times in the Q&A. We went there for the oil. They stole our oil infrastructure.
We're doing it's oil. It's also about Chinese. It's oil. It's about Chinese influence. Those two things are far more important than the drugs. Now you can say he's not hiding. That's true, but it's clear that the first thing they're mentioning is the fentanyl, and that's not the truth. Well, you know that
the fentanyl is probably not, but the drugs that the fentanyl gets and do come from Venezuela and Colombia. They ship it to the cartels in Mexico. Buy it
even if that's true, that's not the number one priority, and that's what's being issued here. Right? If that happened without the nationalization of the oil companies, without Chinese influence, we wouldn't be invading. Probably. And I know this because I could point to a dozen other South American countries that we're not invading that also have drugs coming through, right? So
if we were
I'll give you the last word real quick. I gotta move. I'm so sorry.
I get it. If we were last 30 seconds, if we were doing this overseas, I would not be for this. But the fact that it's a similar culture, it's close, a lot closer. It's easier to supply logistically. It's much more, and we're staying there properly to govern it. I have a lot more hope that something good is going to come out of this than if we fucked about with barbarians in the Middle East. So
well, I hope so. So, all right, Rome, thanks so much, man. It's always a pleasure. Matthew, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Jolly Feets, $10 says, I'm pissed at you, Rob. Take my money. Just kidding. We would not be cheering if a husband provider was fixing problems of other households while neglecting their own children. First Trump L of the year. And Nazir, $2 says, no kings, right? Lefties, one less king. Eric Grays, what's happening, man? I got a couple minutes. What's up?
Hey, brother, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's happening?
Hey, brother. I just wanted to call in. I'm not an op. I'm actually a supporter. Love the things that you and Andrew do.
Thank you.
I had a quick statement for you.
Okay.
Because I am an aspiring content creator. It makes me so sad that you can come on here and do the things you do and say the things that you say, and your fans will just turn on you so quickly and just be like, fuck you, Rob. I don't agree with you. I don't support you anymore. I'm out of here. Fucking bullshit, bro.
Well, thank you. Let me say that 90, well over 95% of the people aren't doing that, though. There's probably people right here that are like, fuck you, this takes dog shit. But hey, that's all right. We'll hear what you have to say tomorrow. But yes, there are a handful of people that if you're not in total agreement with them all the time, they're like, okay, I'm out. Now, in fairness, there was one person who I like, not quite dead, right, who said I was crying about something. And I said, fuck you, you're being a bitch. And then said, well, then I'm not going to be here anymore because you called me a bitch. Okay, then don't say I'm crying. But that's pretty much the only one I could think of. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes those things happen. But yeah, for me, it's like, I think that people are absolutely welcome to disagree with me and tell me I'm an idiot or anything there. But yeah, the point well taken. So, all right. Hey, Eric, thank you so much, man. And good luck with your
I just had one quick question for you. Yep. Because I am aspiring, is there any way that I would be able to get in contact with Avarice or somebody like that and be able to set up an interview with you on my channel?
Yeah, DM me or DM if you have Avarice information, DM him. But you could directly DM me on X, and I would happily do an interview. So
awesome! Thank you so much, brother. Keep doing what you.
Take it easy. All right, John, what's happening, man?
No, not much. Yourself?
Oh, I'm dead. I'm doing all right. I'm running short on time though, unfortunately. But
oh no, you're good. I just want to say I agree with you on everything you say about Trump and his domestic policy. Keep hammering at him on that because he does need to do better on it. But with the regards to the attack on Venezuela, he told us he was doing this in November without telling us he was doing this in November.
Yeah. Now I think that this is. Let me stimulate. Yes, I largely agree with you, right? Like, it's like, if I'm like, well, Trump was non-interventionist, it's like, yeah, but, I mean, come on. Trump was out there basically like, we're bombing these fucking cartels, right? He was saying that, right?
Oh, now, yeah, but he,
so I think that if I'm honest, though, like, what I would say about this whole thing is, well, I think that the thrust of what Trump was really trying to say, in the way I interpreted it, and I was wrong, but the way I interpreted it was like, look, I could come out and say, you remember when Trump said at one point, like, they were like, would you consider nuclear weapons? And Trump said, like, well, we wouldn't, it would be dumb to take anything off the table. And everyone was like, to me, what Trump was really saying there is like, look, you dumb fucks, of course I'm not going to nuke someone. But at the end of the day, if our adversaries want to think maybe this guy's fucking crazy, I'm not going to fucking dissuade them of that opinion, right? And so when Trump's like, yeah, fuck, bomb cartels and shit, but focus on domestic policy, blah, blah, blah. My interpretation of that is like, it's the same as we'll solve this war in one day. Here's our incentive. Trade deals for everyone. Trade deal for you. Trade deal for you. You fuck with us and we'll fuck you up, right? But you never have to fuck them up because you have that posturing that you're taking. Meanwhile, the number one priority is back home. So yes, if you go back and you relook, you're like, oh, the signs were there that Trump was going to do something like this. Yes. But the signs were also there that he was going to hyper-focus on domestic issues and was going to continue to try to be the peace president that would go on just like he did in the first term and brag about no new wars created. So, I mean, yes, he was all over the place, but you could say now that it's happened, well, the signs were there. I mean, that's true.
Well, not even the signs. He directly said it. I mean, did you read his 33-page national security strategy he released in November?
I did at the time.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Did he directly say I'm bombing? Did he say I'm taking over Venezuela? Boots on the ground in Venezuela? I don't know about that.
Well, not in as many words. Well, in more words, I should say. Yeah, we want to ensure the Western Hemisphere remains reasonably stable and well governed enough to prevent and discourage mass migration to the United States. It's a domestic policy. Venezuela was the number two, the number two import. Well, is the number two country where illegal and legal immigrants come from.
I mean, come on. I think that my take's even a better, like Trump suggesting to bomb cartels seems to be closer than, well, we're going to stop immigration means we're going to continue to not deport people here, but invade Venezuela. I mean, I don't think that and what you just read in any stretch of the imagination is like, yes, Trump said he was going to invade Venezuela because he said we're going to work on stopping destabilization of people, illegals coming in. No, I don't buy it. I buy more. I buy more when he said we'll bomb cartels. That's like, see, can you be surprised that he's bombed a huge cartel, the Maduro regime? Then I buy more.
Oh, well, that was just a part of it. That wasn't the full thing.
I know, but I thought you were going to say he specifically said Venezuela, if they don't do X, we will depose Maduro, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I don't remember reading that, but maybe he said that. But just saying we're going to stop illegal immigration, I don't think that's him signaling that we're going to.
No, that was just one of the points of it. The rest of it was working with working to fight against the narco terrorists and stopping hostile countries' influence.
I do have to get running, but let me ask you this question: like, if you could draw a line, well, I guess two-part question. One, did you predict then in your head where you're like, of course we're going to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela? When you read that, and second, if that's the case, can you give us some more predictions? Who else will we overthrow? Based on what Trump has said.
I full-heartedly believe once he started threatening Maduro, he was going to go after him. I knew it was the regime.
But you said in November. You said in November that it was predictable.
Yeah.
So so you knew based on reading this in November, like, we're going to invade Venezuela. Fine, that's great. Who else will we invade?
Well, ideally, I think we should hit Mexico next.
So you think based on like the writings that Trump had back in November that you're able to predict Mexico? Would that be it? Not what you want, but what we will do. Because here's what you'd say. And I'm not saying that what you're trying to do this, but it seems that in effect what's happening here is like, look, to the people that are like, this is out of character of Trump, everybody knew this was going to occur because you could read this statement in November. We read the statement, it's like, wow, wait a minute, that's a big stretch. And you're like, no, but I was able to intuit that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then can you intuit where else we'll invade? Not where we ought to invade, but where we will, based on what his foreign policy was in November. I'm just asking. You're like, Mexico, anywhere else? Because if for example, let's say we invade Colombia, would you say, oh shit, I didn't expect that? Or would you say, of course, I predicted that because what Trump said about illegals in November? I can't draw the line, is what I'm telling you. I don't see the line from A to B there.
Well, let's be honest. At first off, it's Trump. He changes his mind on a freaking whim about what he wants to do about stuff like that. But I mean, could I see a possible invasion of other Latin American countries and regime changes? Yeah, because there's still places like Colombia that don't like us, and his strategic policy for foreign affairs is to secure the Western Hemisphere and bring about stabilization in these countries so they don't have a need to come here. Instead, we can work with economic partnerships like the oil that everybody's talking about, which I 100% believe that's the actual reason for.
Well, listen, John, I thank you so much, man. I got to run. I got like 7 more callers, and I got
no, not
10
a problem.
minutes. So,
and the reason I say I hope it's Mexico next is once we get Mexico, like Ron White said, once we take Mexico, that border gets a lot smaller that we have to protect.
All right, man. Thanks so much. We'll see you. Bobby C, what's happening, man?
Hey, Rob, can you hear me good?
Yes. I'm so sorry. I'm really on a time crunch. What's on your mind?
No worries. I just wanted to say this real quick. It sounds to me like there's a lot of people that are coming on that are not so as America first as I would have thought they would have been. I could understand before when he was bombing the drug boats and everything. I could understand where that's America first because at least you're stopping it from coming to the country. But now it seems like it's, especially based off of that press conference that he did, where he's saying we're going to make the Venezuelan people more rich than they've ever been and restore their oil. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds like it's Venezuela first to me. But anyway, especially hearing a lot of these folks talking about, well, who's next? Who's going to be next? It's like, well, what about Philadelphia? Let's clean up Philadelphia next. What about Los Angeles? Can we clean up like, why are we focusing on all these other places when we should be focusing on cities that, like, and you brought up the point already. It's like, if we have the power to do it, let's do it here. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what to think about it exactly, but I just thought I'd share that.
No, I appreciate it, and that's very similar to my take. Of course, I would never claim to be someone that's just like a total pacifist that say that there's never a place for U.S. intervention. However, what I'm saying is it seems like that place exists all the time. That we constantly see that. We see where it's like, oh, yeah, we actually have time for this. We have time. We have the energy to do all these foreign policy things. And over and over and over again, I see the things that are happening domestically that if we were going to go with the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The theme of this, well, it's about immigration. Well, it's about drugs. There are things domestically we would be going back home that would go in line with that. The fact that we're not doing that seemed to suggest that Trump doesn't have the power or that Trump doesn't have the priority. And it seems to me that, like, it's not America. Why do I give a fuck about the people of Venezuela at all and them being enriched? Now, I understand you could say, yeah, but Trump doesn't really. He just has to say that for PR reasons. Maybe. But yeah, you're exactly right. I'm sure it'll be of small comfort to my friends that are struggling to get by, whose factories are closing up, who are losing their homes, that can't afford homes, etc. Well, hey, don't worry, though. We're enriching the people of Venezuela. Great. Sounds awesome. So, hey, Bobby, thanks so much, man. I appreciate the call. I got to move, but thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yes, you too. Happy New Year. Trey Saylor, what's happening, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What's happening?
I just had, I agree with a lot of the stuff that you're saying. But this is the second time that I've actually seen Venezuelan overthrown by the U.S. government. There was one time in 2002, it was actually accidentally filmed. They made a documentary about it called The Revolution Won't Be Televised. I'd definitely check that out.
What year was that? I'm familiar with this, but what was the year?
2002.
Fuck. My goodness.
It's
been years since I thought of this, but I remember watching this. I mean, it's probably been 10 years since I remember looking into that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube now, but it's a really old video. And then this is definitely all about oil. I don't know if you read about the court order that is forcing Venezuela to break up the company and sell it to an investment company.
I totally agree. Now I do think that there are secondary effects. I think that oil, in addition to preventing China from getting that oil and influence, et cetera, I agree with all that. But yeah, I think you're right. So, hey, Trey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I gotta move. But I'll be doing call-in shows this week. I will, and I'm sure this will be on everyone's mind. So,
all right. Thanks.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. Bye. Fuel My Fire. What's happening, man?
What's up, man? Rob. All right. Kind of crazy. Like 2 weeks ago, I read it. I wish I could credit them. January 3rd, Venezuela is going to get invaded.
Oh, you read someone that was saying that?
Yep. They called it on the date.
Oh, snap. That's, hey, was it technically the 3rd or was it? I think it probably was. The invasion probably didn't start until after midnight on the East Coast. That's probably.
I mean, it was technically January 3rd. It was like, what, 2:00 in the morning, something like that.
Oh, well, there you go. Someone had it, right? What do you think?
Yeah.
You agree with it? You disagree? What do you think?
I think it's nonsense. Like, they're taking him to Guantanamo. I don't know if you were live when Trump did his press conference, and Pete Hegseth strongly insinuated that Iran is next.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't, I don't know. I mean, I guess if these things happen, I disagree with it. I obviously disagree, but if these things occur, hopefully it has a positive as an outcome as possible. And I'll also be interested to watch. I'll be interested to watch the people that are like, yes, this is good. How, if they're going to keep pushing that. So, but yeah, I hope not. I hope not. I hope we don't end up in
no bueno. Not good. That's not good. I'll let you go, Ryan.
Thank you so much, Fuel My Fire. We appreciate it. Yep. Trump gets told it's cruel and unusual to deport Venezuelans back to a hellhole, but he can't fix the hellhole or call it a hellhole. Who gives a fuck what the left thinks? Trump, you should, not only could you, but you should deport every motherfucking illegal in this country back to their country, regardless of if we call it a hellhole or not. There, see? My policy has always been such. Stop interventionism that helps lead to instability in these countries while simultaneously saying, fuck you, we owe you nothing, and we're not bringing in these people. The left's argument is do the interventionism that leads to instability and then say, look, we did the interventionism, now we have to accept the refugees. Mark my words, what we'll see, what we're going to see is the Democrats are now going to start saying we need to mass import Venezuelans because we destabilize the country. That's going to be part of the argument that they're making. Texas Bully Mom, $10 says, for the goal! Thanks for keeping it 100% all the time, Rob. We need so much more of this these days. Thank you so much. JS, what's up, man? How you doing?
What up, Rob? I just want to say Happy New Year's, America. Grab your balls. Say, fuck you, Venezuela. We're taking your oil. We don't care about BRICS. You're trying to join BRICS. We ain't playing with you no more. You're dealing with China. We're about to fight you like the Battle of Two Fingers, and we're going to leave you glowing in the dark.
Oh, shit. That sounds like some fucking Brooklyn accent there coming out. Look, we'll see, man. We'll see what's going on. I think I obviously have given my thoughts on it. I'm not a fan of it, but you hope that it comes out as positively as possible. And one of the positive things could be that, like, if China and them are like, oh, we better stop fucking around, that would be a good thing. But yeah, we'll see.
Pete Hegseth said it. He said this is the year of fuck around and find out. So we're not playing no more. It's over.
Well, hey, JS, thanks so much, man. I got to run. You're streaming right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, people, check out JS. I think we'll be raiding over. I was going to raid Alex Stein, but I think for some reason, I don't know if Alex has raids that are allowed on. So we'll be raiding over to you here in a moment, JS. I got to get moving now.
I appreciate it.
Take it easy. Always great talking to you. Brian Kraft, what's happening, my friend?
Oh,
Sorry,
we don't really have. Yeah, it's fine, man. We don't really have time, so I'll call back in on another show to go over
I'll
it.
be doing a call-in show
if I
Tuesday,
can get
perhaps Monday. So.
Just 30 seconds to clear up a little point here, it seems. I see people in your chat saying over and over again, America first. And a lot of these individuals seem to be claiming to be Christians. And I would ask these individuals, do you put your country over God first? Because I'm God before I am America first. So it is a little bit weird when I hear some of these individuals or I read them inside your chat saying that, but
well,
no, I'll call back on another day.
But wait. I got a little time to deal with this. If I said my family first, would you say, well, no? What about God? The point is, yes, it could be implicit that you view your relationship with God first and foremost, and yet in a political system, much like in your system, you protect and look out for your own interests first. So in other words, we wouldn't actively engage in sins against people. I'm not stealing from you to feed my family. That would be a sin. That would be unbiblical. But at the same time, there's nothing inherently wrong or anti-Christian for me to say, I care about my family first and foremost. Right?
Hold on. If you care about them before God?
Well, who said that?
Well, no. I'm saying, are you saying that?
No.
Are you saying you care about your family before you care about God?
In the context, when people say America first, what they're talking about is political systems. What our government, which is a political system, and in the framework of a political system, what they should be focused on is the people that are their citizens first and foremost. That does not a precursor to God. Just like if I say, I care about my family first, the implication isn't, oh, so you're saying that if it meant besmirching God, you would protect your family over that. No, I'm not saying. They're not mutually exclusive. So I don't think that someone saying America first and wanting policies that affect first and foremost the well-being of the American citizen means that they're somehow saying that that's above Christianity. I don't see that.
No, I mean, because a lot of the laws that are based in this country now stand against what it would be to be a Christian. So for somebody saying America first, you're going after these laws within this country. It just sounds odd to me, but I don't want to hold up your time, man. You got your kids and all that going on.
All right,
go enjoy. Go enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Dill, what's happening? Real quick, man.
What's up, Rob? I just want to call in and say I love you, man. I'm actually from Pittsburgh as well, so if you don't like this bombing, you're probably going to have a bad weekend as well because we're probably losing tomorrow. Unfortunately.
Look, I'll be as quick as possible. It's the Ravens Steelers, right? Like it's the fucking both fan bases are kind of cheering that their team loses so they can
Yeah.
get rid of these garbage coaches. So if they lose, it's the perfect 9-8, baby. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season. But Dill, I gotta run. Thank you so much, man. From one Yinzer to another, thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. One more fucking piece of shit. First off, Amagad. Thanks so much. $87.35 says day shift needs a win from time to time. Go! Thank you so much. And then Belinda Gal. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Last caller here. Sorry, Nate. Last caller. We got this piece of shit calling in. Look at this guy. Andrew PPF. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you, Rob?
Oh, yelling at people. How's the day going?
It's going. I got up at the crack of noon.
Living
But
the
anyway,
good life, baby. Yep.
that's right. Well, I went live last night covering the Maduro thing in the wee hours of the morning. So what's your take? People are telling me I got to call in because you got an oppositional take, which
Yes.
immediately means that you're fired and I hate you.
I know. Great. Finally. Now I can talk shit. I'm about to fucking the Crucible jacket I have. I'm about to take just pictures of me in that jacket. With no, my take is.
What did the chatter said? Wood. I said wood.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
My take is that two things. One, I'm against interventionism because I think that the United States has proven themselves to be incompetent and not benevolent in these interventions in my entire adult life. That would be Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and the list goes on. And I think that it'll be the same boondoggle here. But secondly, if we are going to accept, and I'm willing to hear this, like, fuck it, man, we're the United States. We want your oil, we'll take your fucking oil. I'm willing to accept that. If it's going to be, we got the might, that's what makes right. The problem I have with that is, why is it only with foreign policy? There's so much that Trump could be doing with that might back home. For example, if part of this is about stopping China, and because of their influence in places like Venezuela and fentanyl, why is Trump doing this and throwing the balls out on the table saying, look who I am? And then, out of the other side of his mouth going, well, we have to accept 500,000 Chinese students, because otherwise the very universities that we should be defunding would be harmed. That's the problem I have. The lack of consistent message and the focus on foreign policy over domestic issues, which I think doesn't signal America first.
Yeah, are you familiar with the history of Venezuela at all?
Yeah, Chavez, nationalizing the oil regimes, taking away oil access from U.S. companies that rightfully owned it. The communism.
Well, they had a major issue, which was an economic issue that Chavez brought in. So most economies have some sort of diversification, right? Something. They have some kind of diversification going on. Chavez actually purposely eliminated diversification of economy via policy in Venezuela. But he did it on purpose. Nobody had ever seen anything like it because, it's a crazy policy, right? But that's what he did. And it was the main reason the economy there completely tanked out. And what's been happening, and this is true, that this has been happening for about 20 years, is the black market became emergent in Venezuela. So it's such a huge black market. That's where everybody goes and they turn their money in for US dollars. They actually go to the black market to do that because the communists there can't set the exchange rate correctly. Mm-hmm. So they always set it too high. The black market gives you a better deal in the exchange rate for their own currency, which is hilarious. But anyway, one of the main exports that they do have from black market exports is cooks and chefs and everything else that do make drugs. That is in fact true. It is in fact true. And this particular raid that happened, my understanding is that they only use the military as a shield to get law enforcement in to execute an arrest warrant. There doesn't seem like there's any kind of widespread nothing going on there right now.
Well, okay. In general, I do think that this is primarily a law enforcement action. That I'll agree with. But I mean, it's not as if they just there was bombs dropped and there were obviously people. I think we'll find out. I mean, this could be wrong, but I think it's safe to say that there were probably people that were killed. It doesn't look like on the U.S. side, which is great. But I take the point. Fine, this was a sort of law.
So far, the casualty reported is a possibility, a potential that a 24-year-old girl was killed, but that's not confirmed. Looks like it looked like it may be completely bloodless.
That's incredible if true. But
it looks like it might be completely bloodless. they had action. The reason they moved on it is because they had actionable intel that he was being moved into a steel compound. So as they were moving him into this steel compound, that's when they went in and got him. You know what I mean?
And then not only that, I can you go further than that. I also heard that like Maduro foolishly put like half the military on leave for the holidays. It's like maybe not the best move when you see the posturing. And I'll say this, and I have said this: if it is as it seems, you cannot criticize the way that the mission was carried out. The problem I still have is with the mission itself. I do not like this interventionism, even if it's from countries like this that clearly have screwed over the United States in a litany of ways. In fact, I would say that the United Kingdom has screwed over the United States in more ways and has more negative influence right now, and a litany of other countries, Mexico, Colombia, etc.
Yeah, but we can't just black bag a European leader and all those rights. You actually can do that in a South American nation. You actually can just black bag a leader, and suddenly things in that country drastically change.
That's true. Obviously, there has to be a practical sense to this. You have to be pragmatic. Like the United States can't go to war with everyone or just, take Keir Starmer. I get it, but it's not just that simple either. Yes, we black bag, but you hear Trump today. Well, this means that the United States is going to take over Venezuela in the short term until there's a transition. Now, this is similar language that we heard with Afghanistan. We were celebrating the victory in Afghanistan within a few years, and yet we were there 20 years. And what this leads to is, at the very minimum, like if we're really concerned, this isn't about drugs. It's more about the oil and stuff, which I think you would agree. But even to the extent that drugs are a good side effect that we're going to be limiting them, how can we justify the domestic issues we're seeing?
Well, it's actually limiting the mass migration, I think. So 1/3 of Venezuela has left that nation since the years of Chavez. Like a full 1/3, and it was increasing drastically because they can't feed themselves. Well, where the fuck were they going, Rob?
Who gives a fuck? I don't care.
They were going. Well, they're going here. They were going
not
here.
Not now. Trump secured the border. They ain't coming in now. Fuck them.
Yeah, right. So, but I mean, if you want to limit future domestic immigration, you don't want an outpouring. Same thing happened in Guatemala. Guatemala poured out over 1/3 of its nation into the United States. 1/3 of them into the U.S.
All of this is true, but my solution to this isn't then we owe it in this country to go and fix other countries' problems. Because the truth is, and you know this, it doesn't matter how good or stable those countries are. If a Democratic administration gets back in power, the floodgates open again. And we're going to see the exact same millions, even if they're not from the exact same countries. But you'll still see people in Venezuela be like, shit, Joe Biden 2.0? Hell yeah, I'll flood in. So the focus should be back home. And instead, the past 5 months of the Trump administration have clearly been the foreign policy presidency. Meanwhile, do you have any doubt?
If you can cleanly do this, just like he cleanly went in and out of Iran, that was clean. If he can cleanly black bag this guy and Venezuela has a stable market economy again because they have somebody in there who's worth a shit, that is a huge W.
But if it's that,
I mean, you agree with that, right?
Yes, but why didn't Trump come out today and say it's all good, we're leaving? Instead, he said, no, we have to maintain.
But what is he leaving? He's leaving, a couple thousand troops in a very small naval detachment. Like this is not a war brigade that's there. It's a very, very small detachment.
But I mean, the same thing could be said of Syria. We only had a couple thousand people there, and look at the boondoggle that's led to. So
yeah, but geopolitics in the Middle East are way different.
Well, yes.
in the Middle East, we got to deal with the fact that these are unrealistic, unreasonable Muslim cousin fuckers, and that brings a whole new dimension into it, the religion aspect. These people in Venezuela are Catholics, and they're not unreasonable. They're not like they're not people who can't be reasoned with. They're not people who are so dogmatic that that you can't do changes like this. And they get embraced quickly. And in South America, we do actually have a history of regime change where it actually works out in our favor pretty well. Middle East, not so much.
Africa, not so much either, right? Libya,
Yep,
we can see
yep.
that. But
okay. Africa's Muslim. Africa's Muslim, that's why.
Okay, let's say, even if it would work out, I'm tired. It is clear that the hyper-focus from both of the parties in this country have been America last. And when I'm voting for someone like Donald Trump that's America first, I want him to focus on domestic issues. Right now in the news cycle, we have this story that is actually momentum to get normies to fucking hate the mass migration that we see with this Somalian daycare story. Be honest, do you have any doubt that Republicans in this next budget are going to continue to fund refugees for billions of dollars and Trump's going to sign that bill? I could handle Trump's big balls overseas if domestically he's doing the right things, but he is not. And it is clear that although it is hypothetically true, we could do both. They won't do both. And the reason is because if you're someone like Trump that's dealing with such amount of corruption, you have to be hyper-focused and be spending your energy on the most efficient ways. And he's been doing the opposite. And this is one of the biggest boondoggles that's going to take up so much of his time, change the national
Well, wait a second. Let me ask you a question. Let's say that you're President Robnoerr.
Okay.
Right? You have to have bipartisan support for any of the localized U.S. bills that you want to pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you do. There's no way you're going to get that for immigration status. That's just not going to happen.
Then veto
there's
everything.
There's no way you're going to get that for refugee status either, right? But you might be able to do something utilizing your presidential powers elsewhere. If that's all you can do, is that what you do?
No, because yes, hypothetically, to answer your question, yes would be the answer. You obviously, if you can't change everything, you make the incremental changes that you're capable of and then live to fight another day. That's true.
Right.
My argument is, but there are incremental fights that you could be making. For example, you could say, fuck you, I'm vetoing the budget bill that gives one dime to any foreigner. That's number one. Trump won't do it. Secondly, you could say, even if I can't get bills passed, what I can do is pressure people into saying, particularly in my party, that their stance is unattainable and that we're going to make the American people, particularly Trump voters, outraged at someone like Tom Emmer, who's in charge of the Somalia caucus, or outraged at all these Republicans that are funding this shit, and we'll primary them. And Trump threatens this all the time. But he's threatening to primary people who I don't particularly have an affinity for, like Thomas Massey, but not the neocons. He's not threatening to primary the people that are pushing these bills that are billions of dollars to Somalians and all this other stuff. So I think that it seems to me that the clearest example or the clearest explanation of what's going on here is Trump actually likes some of these illegals. That's why when Trump was out there the other day saying, wow, yeah, 500,000 Chinese, that's okay. And I saw these illegals at this battery plant in North Carolina, and actually we need them. And a lot of these farms, we can't just deport these people. It is clear that the people that have his ear right now are saying, well, actually, we need migration. We need it. We need H-1Bs. We've got to be hesitant on a lot of these illegals. And this is just another example. It's just the neocon agenda. This is Lindsey Graham's foreign policy and domestic policy.
I'm not going to give you a huge fight there because it's true, right? You are correct that, and a lot of that, as you know, has to do with farm subsidies. Right. It literally has to do with, there's a huge kind of political arm when it comes to lobbying from farmers. People don't really realize how big of a lobbying arm that really is. It's such a large lobbying arm that they can demand endless subsidies and actually get them. And so, there's always going to be bipartisan support for visas for people to work cheap labor on farmland. Like there's nothing we're ever going to be able to do about that. You could maybe, institute something like Bush tried to do where they come in and they go home. It's just that they never go home, right? That's what happens. They just don't fucking go back home. So that's true. I agree with that. On the domestic side of things, I'm not sure what Trump can do, though. His hands seem totally tied when it comes to immigrating. You say he can veto the bill. Well, Congress can override the veto, and they will. And then he gets egg on his face.
But if that's
you got to be careful here.
But imagine the uproar, though. Imagine like the MAGA base, and like if that would be the best thing that could happen, to be honest, right? If so many, this was one of my arguments against ending the filibuster. The truth is, the rhino Trump-hating Republicans in Senate, right? They don't want to end the filibuster because they use the fact that they need 60 votes to justify the fact they do nothing. The truth is, they don't want Trump's agenda. So if the filibuster ended, all of a sudden they could no longer hide behind that. It would be like, okay, you have the votes. Now do it. And then what you would find is, actually, you don't have the votes because enough Republicans don't agree. So if, for example, Trump said,
but if your veto gets overridden, though, you look weak. Well, you look like you have no power. It looks like you don't have any supporters. I mean, from an optics standpoint, that's real bad. You don't generally want to have a veto overridden.
I agree with you, but disagree at the same time. Everything you say here is absolutely correct. However, Trump is unique, and what that would show is even his own party does not believe in the agenda. Particularly if he said, my veto's for one reason, not one more dime to these illegal foreigners. Not one more. Not one more for refugees. And so take that portion out of the bill. And if Republicans said, nah, dog, we can't do that, we'll override the veto, then the primaries would be insane. Trump could say, fair enough, this party no longer supports me, and so I'm going to use my bully pulpit to radically change the party by promoting primary challenges to each and every person that voted to override the veto. And
yeah, sure, but moving into the midterms, you know, people have a very short attention span, and moving into midterm elections, if Trump has a veto, he puts a veto in, it gets overridden. Even the people who then said, no, I was voting with Trump, right? People will give their angst to them too and still vote for the Democrat. You know, fuck this party, in other words. Fuck this party. They won't do anything that we want anyway. Fuck these guys. You know what I mean? They're not paying attention. Most people don't pay attention to the micro. They're not going to actually research each individual politician, what they voted for. People just don't operate that way. They operate off of a party political lens. That's the dialectic. And so I think if Trump started an internal conflict with the Republican Party coming into the midterms, especially over veto powers when it comes to him vetoing bills and it gets overridden, I think a lot of his actual core supporters who he can rely on, that would actually hurt them in the midterms when people became frustrated with the Republican Party.
Even if that was hypothetically true, I don't think that what would happen would be that it would even be necessary to get to the veto stage. I think the truth is it's not just a matter of Trump begrudgingly saying, fuck, I got to sign this bill that's $5 billion for refugees. I think Trump wants it. And I think if Trump said, look, no, don't put that in the bill. Yes, you're right that it's a game of chicken at that point, that your Tom Emmers of the world and your Lindsey Grahams of the world will say, but we want that shit. That's how we get kickbacks to ourselves. And that's how our lobbyists get cheap labor, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you're right. That's what so it become a game of chicken. But those people also realize, like, well, we would be fucked too. Right? And this will put this issue at the forefront. And the establishment doesn't want this. They don't want this fight to come head on. If the battle line's going to be drawn and it's going to be like, this is it. This is the end of it. We are literally coming out as clear as day and saying, it's a uniparty, baby. It's it. Uniparty 101. Foreigners matter most. And we're willing to die on this hill as Republicans in Congress to say, nope, fuck you, MAGA. Fuck you, Trump. Foreigners matter more. If they don't want that to be the battle line. They don't. And you're right. I think what would happen would ultimately be this would massively cost Republicans in the midterms, but even Democrats would be frightened because they know that there would then be a third party that would come about that would be like, that's it. There has been an announcement of uniparty. So there could be a party or at least momentum that comes out that says, we are the fuck the immigrants party. We're the only people that give a shit. And so I don't
know about this idea either of the emergence of a third party. I'm not sure that that's a great idea. Do you remember
it would be a revamp of the Republican Party is what it would be.
Yeah, that we would need. That's a good idea. Revamp, but that's already happening, right? Influencers are actually beginning to change the ideas around the Republican platform. So that's very helpful. That's going to take a couple of years, but it is very helpful. But a third party, I think, is a bad idea. You remember back in the Clinton, it was Clinton pro, and and the reason Clinton won was because he split the vote. Pro split the vote, right?
Hit the ears. I love pro.
Yeah, and so it ended up. Yeah, I liked him. Ross Perot, wasn't it? But he split the vote, and so you can end up in these crazy situations where like people get 10% of the vote and still win. It's like that could create all kinds of. That could create all kinds of problems too, like it does in the UK. So I'm not sure that that moving out of the two-party system is actually any better.
Well, I agree with you. The problem is like we are set up to the way where unless we are 70 years away from having win after win after win to have viable third parties at the national level. I totally agree with that. So when I say third party, what I mean is that you would see a revolt inside the Republican Party because they would have came out and said, we are a uniparty. At that point, I just imagine the balls it would take. Imagine the balls it would take 3/4 of like Republicans to come out and be like, well, you know what? Actually, we disagree, Trump. We really want to continue to fund Somalians. I mean, the outrage of every single one of their voters would be like, wait, what? Right now they hide like Tom Ender under the veil of, we're outraged. We're outraged by what Walz did here. Oh my goodness, this is terrible.
But I just gotta, like, from the pragmatic side here, right? Coming into midterms, if you knew that if you began a primary function said the Republican Party betrayed you, you're Donald Trump, this is the things you're going to vote for, even if it's true. If you're in Trump's shoes, would you rather at least have the party be Republican that you're the head of, who gets in the midterms, or they all get fucking dunked on by Democrats and Democrats take their seats? Trump knows then he's a lame duck president. He's not going to be able to pass nothing.
Well,
and so it's like, I don't know, from a pragmatic position, if I'm Donald Trump, I'm not going to be during the midterms trying to fight too hard politically against my own party, because I know that if they don't at least retain X amount of seats, I'm not going to be able to do shit for the last few years of my presidency.
Okay, so I don't think it would play out this way that Republicans would fight back and override a veto like that. But let's say hypothetically that would happen. Yeah, you're right. Of course I would rather have Republicans. And if I'm Trump, I'd rather have Republicans. But then the same criticism becomes this. We just had what would be the most positive news cycle for Republicans in the midterms that's completely stamped out because Trump decides to bomb Venezuela and black bag Maduro. So if it's really about, look, we need to have slow incremental victories on the inexorable march to Republicans winning, as we as influencers can change them from within, I agree that's not a bad strategy, but then why take away your best news cycles? And
wait a second, though. This will be forgotten about in a week. Is that what you mean? Like, he should have held off on getting Maduro. They should have held off on Maduro till the midterms? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, no, but you're right. Again, you are right in this, that yes, the news cycle's so fast that we'll be talking about something different in 2 weeks. True. But what this illustrates is we should have been talking about the Somalians this week and next week and the week after, just like we should have been talking about Charlie Kirk. But Trump's administration, look, Trump has no help. The Republicans in Congress suck. They deserve the majority of the blame. But you have to cast blame on Trump and his administration for this. They are incapable of taking to the illogical extent a news cycle. We should still be talking about assassination against Trump and Charlie Kirk. That should be every single day. The violence of the left. And somehow within 2 weeks, they allowed Jimmy Kimmel to be the victim of the Charlie Kirk thing. Same thing here. You're given this golden platter, the Somali story. You run with it every fucking day. And now they're out there and they're going to be talking about Maduro. And they're going to be talking about Venezuela. And they're going to be talking about Iran. And the American people don't give a shit. In fact, this is going to be unpopular. They're going to, majority of people aren't going to think this is popular. This doesn't help Republicans in the midterm. It only harms them. And so I think now you're right that the silver lining is no one's going to give a fuck. If the economy's good, Republicans will win. That's the truth. We know it, and so no one will give a shit about this story come, 2 months before the midterms. But nonetheless, they should have been hyper-focused on the domestic issues, and those would have been wins,
Well, I think on the Somali thing, you have a good point there. But I'm not sure that the news cycle is going to go away from that because alternative media got involved. So the mainstream media came in and said, no, we looked into all these claims. And you know what? After looking into these claims, we found out that they're false. And then you see what they did to look into the claims. And all they did was pull up some public records. That was it. Right? They didn't really look into them at all, especially not CBS. So it was.
Brian Shapiro disagrees with you. He called in last night to let me know.
It was a total joke. Yeah, I know. He was trying to stalk me on my channel too.
I heard. I didn't know you were.
And after me. Why is he still going to your channel? I thought he had big things to do. He had to go do Chris Cuomo thing. He was arguing with me in DMs. He said, "Hey man, the most offensive thing to me is when you said that guy Rob Noerr is as big as I am." And I was like, "I'm sorry, bro. He's got a much bigger live stream than you." He's like, "I do 1,000 live viewers on YouTube." I said, "No, you fucking don't. Shut up, Brian." He got so mad, dude.
Dude, I would leave Brian calling every day because it's gold for my channel. And I treat him in a way that he would never reciprocate. I go on his show, he's muting me. I leave him go on his 4-minute soliloquies that's just moving the goalpost over and over. But one of the things I think's funny is he constantly wants to make things personal with me. He comes in saying, your audience is stupid, you're stupid, blah, 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 blah. Now, by the end of this conversation we're having last night, he starts, he brings up you again, and he does this whole like, I'm not like you and Andrew. I don't need my audience to say that I won debates, blah blah blah. It's sort of implying like a vanity or like sort of low self-esteem or something that we need to build ourselves.
Well, he doesn't need to worry about it. His audience would never do that.
That's what I said. I was like, well, two things to say about this. One, no one's going to say that because you lost, so they're not going to say you won. And secondly, I was like, the implication here seems to be that you're saying we're low self-esteem. And I was like, Brian, I sometimes we're hyperbolic, like when you're debating someone, you say, you're the most partisan person I've ever seen, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, I say this with no hyperbole. I truly mean this. I have never interacted with someone on these online spaces that has less self-esteem than you. Like your constant need for validation. I'm like, Brian, you were texting me over the holidays to say I'm in America. My phone number, not a public message, my personal cell phone. You texted me to say I'm in America Fest and I'm a big deal and I'm debating Jack Posobiec and you're fucking nothing. You're a worthless. I'm like, you literally, me and Andrew are in your head so bad. You keep saying I'm bigger than you, and yet you're watching every day. And yet you're calling in every day. And he's like, how dare you? How dare you make it personal? That's all you do, Brian. Like, and I don't mind it. I'm not whining. You want to call me fat? You want to say that I low self-esteem, that I'm stupid, that I need to brag and say I won debates? I don't give a fuck. I'll keep talking to you. But he gets incredulous. How dare you imply that I have low self-esteem? It's truly one of the most astonishing things I've ever seen. A person who knows so bad that they got blown the fuck out, that they're desperately seeking for a win of some sort. And so while they'll simultaneously tell you, you're a nobody, no one gives a fuck about you, but I'm tuning in every day and calling in every day. It's like, methinks that your actions belie your words in that case, so.
Yeah, I think I think with Shapiro, like, just give him time. I think over a couple of months, he'll I don't know, he'll find that he'll start to get it, stop spurting out so bad. I don't know for sure. You know what I mean? Because he's a very, I tell him this all, you're a very excitable fellow.
Yes.
A very excitable fellow. So the thing is like, I don't care though, let Sparky do what he does. But that aside, I'm going to let you go because I know you were getting the hell out of here.
Yes.
So I appreciated the conversation. Obviously I won this debate.
Yeah.
And that's because I need my self-esteem boost. Anyway, thanks, Rob. I'll see you, bro.
Yep, I'll be raiding over to your stream to tell you what a piece of shit you are next time for saying you won.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
All right, take it easy, Andrew. We'll see you.
You too.
Well, I'm fired, I guess. Oh, shit. Real quick, and then I do have to get running. I do. Where are we at? Belinda Goal is. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced it. I'll say Me First in the Gimme Gimmies. I was a big fan of Me First. Nazir, $2 says agree. God, family, country. Ask Abraham and Isaac. Yep. Brian Kraft, $10 says thanks for the time, brother. Hope this helps go now and enjoy your day with family. Thank you. Ron Quay, $5 says Rob fired. He's trying to leave anyways. Yeah, that's right. So it's actually a good thing. Why is Andrew taking food out of Rob's kid's mouth? Rob Nudes coming soon. This year, $2 says Christian world is better than Christian nationalist. Disagree with that. I think Christian worldist is that's the equivalent, as far as I'm concerned, as saying that as a Christian, I should care as much about my neighbor's children as my own. Disagree. Totally disagree. Captain Planet, $10 says, hope this helps your impending dock and pay. Thank you. Left-handed assassin, $20. Thank you. Nazir, $5 says, let Canada capture Trump. Lefties would be cheering, by the way. By God and Iron, thanks so much, man, for the $5. Anonymous Coward, $5 says, the filibuster's a no-win situation. Get rid of it. It'll bring out the rhinos to shape the post-Trump consensus. Otherwise, Dems will use it next. Yep. And Nazir, $2 says, if you like this, Brian is a snowflake. Oh. Well, it was Zenkrios. Thanks so much. $10 says, Rob, so much respect for expressing your opinion on the matter, even if we disagree in some respects. This is what being a conservative is all about, diversity of ideas. Thank you. So, last thoughts on this, because I do have to get running. Look, I'll yell at my audience. You guys call me a fuckhead. I can call you a fuckhead. That's the way it is. I don't care. I think that you absolutely could disagree with this situation and not be a piece of shit. Yeah, you could disagree with the Iraq war and not be a piece of shit. You could disagree with foreign policy with Israel-Palestine and not be a piece of shit. You could disagree with the Ukrainian stuff. That's fine. But it obviously gets heated. I don't mind. The people that are going to say that I'm doing this to seek validation from left-wingers, fuck you. The people that are saying that, like, I'm crying and blah, 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 fuck you. You know, the people that are saying that this makes me sound like a leftist, fuck you. I don't care. But no hard feelings. I don't care. You could say that, right? I don't like it. I don't like it. I wanted a president that was focused on domestic issues. That's what I wanted. And I see more and more every day that the focus on domestic issues seems to be further and further afoul. That's what I think. And I'm sorry. That's where I'm at. Am I open to evidence that will show, like let's say hypothetically that it's like, you could see, like, if this wouldn't have happened in 2 years, China's basically completely running Venezuela, and they're building up the military in South America, is starting to advance into the United States, which leads to 5 years to a great global war. Would it have been a far better situation to nip it in the bud now if this was able to do that? Of course, I would say that. But I don't see that. I don't see the evidence of that. I don't. I think the best case argument that someone like Andrew would have against me is I'm prone to overreacting to things in the individual. And Andrew is absolutely right. And I will concede, and without any hesitation whatsoever, that the news cycle's fast. It's very fast. Draco, thanks so much, man, for the $5. Says, oh, that's Bass Guitar. What's up, Bass Guitar? Draco, it's $5. Says, Rob, appreciate your Discord. We can disagree and still support you. Thank you. Would I prefer a Christian communist country or a capitalist Jewish country? It depends on the way that it would act. Like true Christian, like my Christian? I don't know that true Christian could be communist. So it would be the fake bullshit hippy dippy Christians, which isn't real Christianity to me. So there you go. We are rating JS Urban Adventures, I think. That's how it's going to go. I will not be streaming tonight. Tomorrow night, perhaps. If I do stream tomorrow, it'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern. If you were personally offended by anything that I said today, if you were mad that my moderators timed you out or something, I don't give a fuck. I respect my moderators. I stand by the choices that they had. And so I just want to take this second, though, if I offended you, to say I'm not apologizing. Go fuck yourself. I don't care. I don't give apologies for shit like that. That's the... Now, Are We Not Men? Are you still here? There you go. See, Andrew nails it. You can't have a Christian communist nation. Right. But can you have a Jewish capitalist nation? Or is it purely oligarchical? Corporatism, right? Are We Not Men? You here? All right, so Are We Not Men thinks that we all did a shitty job today. All the callers, me, and everyone in the chat. And so he's going to time everyone out and even mute me.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.